Eddie? No!
Who took the keys out of that monster?
Come on, Scott. Who do you think you're dealing with here?
Guy who's about to lose $100 grand worth of speedboat?
Black hell. Freeze it! Miami, Vice.
Congratulations, pal. New York.
Now, you might have commendations up to Yin Yang in the Bronx or New York or wherever the hell it is you're from. But this is Miami, pal, where you can't even tell the players without a program. Down here, you're just another amateur.
And what are you guys? Get the law enforcement. Couldn't let you handle all that bad karma by yourself. Hey! Hey! Hey!
Officer Tubbs, say hi to Elvis. Maybe I'm getting too old for this line of work. Scraping by on 4 hours sleep a day, living under cover for weeks at a time. Dealer this week, outlaw biker the next. If it's Tuesday, I must be working drugs. Hell on the old nervous system, I'll tell you.
Waiting's over, dead man. I trusted you, good. I trusted you, you bastard! I trusted you!
I don't want you or anybody else to question my methods. If I make a strategic decision to cut corners, to throw the book away, that's my decision. Because it's me out here and nobody else.
So what are you waiting for?
Because when I haul him in, I want him to stay there.
Who killed Penny?
What are you talking about?
What's going to happen with your wife?
I don't know. I don't know if I can go back to my wife. That life. Rocket!
I'm Lieutenant Castillo, your new boss.
Don't ever come up to my face like this again, detective.
Baby, you know I love you. You know I love you.
I hate to carry a wallet. Ruins the flow of my trousers.
You all right?
Hell no, I'm not all right. I hate machine guns.
What's the problem?
I hate machine guns.
What are you yelling
Yeah,
about?
when I get shot at by a 30 caliber M60 machine gun, I get scared. And when I get scared, I get angry.
Yep.
Eddie!
Go on, go home. Get on the damn plane.
What do I care? Whatever you wear, get a button it wrong.
Why don't you just go without me?
Here, you want something to wear? Wear this!
This guy's scum.
Rita.
You're letting him go.
Rita?
No!
Read me my rights.
Artie! Artie! Hold this stand!
Larry, you can't go in there! Larry!
Ashes, huh? Ashes!
You don't walk out of here with that child. If I twitch, she's gone. Maybe you won't even twitch.
You want to know who ratted you out? I did. I ratted you out, you arrogant bastard. You set up the ambush the caravan. I give you your position, your strength, and they hit you from the back.
We're gonna score, right? Tell me we're gonna score. All right.
Hey, my friends call me Santa Claus. Grade A, baby.
Everybody's free!
Everybody free! Okay!
What took you so long?
Stop for donuts.
Not for nothing, but why are you doing these things to me? You know I've loved you since the day you were born.
You Albert Lombard?
Yeah, what do you want?
I have a subpoena here for you to appear before the grand jury. 15th of this month, 10 a.m., room 329, Dade County Municipal Building. You accept it?
Yeah, here, look, I accept it, okay? I got it, I accept it.
Mr. Lombard, you're gonna do some talking. Or you're gonna do 5 years and all these contempt citations. Can you talk about my lifestyle?
Your father had a cop shot to death in New York City! Leave me alone! And that cop was my brother!
Hello, you beautiful bastards, and welcome to my so-called show. And God, I wish I had more clips for that intro, but YouTube downloaders were being a bastard. But I am glad to talk about one of the greatest shows of the 1980s, Miami Vice. First aired in round about January, 1984, September 16th, 1984 to June 28th, 1989. And what's going on there, Artie? You sniffing up? Sniffing cocaine, man? I'm hearing a lot of breathing here.
Oh, sorry. It's the. I was just so
excited.
I've got allergies at the moment. It's spring here,
not.
going into summer. So yeah, I'm very. I thought my mic was off. Allergies are playing quite a role in my life at the moment. But I'll survive. Yeah, good. Thanks. Looking forward to having a few quick words about this highly influential television series from the 1980s that I saw when I was in my mid-teens. So exciting times. I'm going to turn my mic off because I'm going to sneeze. Hang on.
Yeah, do like it has been going around though. I've kind of been on and off with the call. I mean, 1 minute it's bothering me, and then the next minute isn't. Thankfully, it isn't today, so it's not a flow. So yeah, before we get into the show, I'm just letting you know this is only season 1 of the top 5 episodes. These don't have to be the best episodes ever. These are just 5 of our favourites. And to be honest, this was a fucking huge task trying to narrow this down to 5 because there were so many others I do want to talk about. But in the end, sometimes you got to kill your babies and stick to your convictions. But I'm glad to have here my good friend Lord of Toxicity, who has just recently released his first novel, Slapdash. And how you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, always good to have you. And I know you were originally a Florida guy as well before you moved to Kansas. So, and you were a big fan of Miami Vice as well. So,
yeah.
And I'd say obviously it was around that time when Miami Vice was a big thing. And we've talked about this a few times on the Critical Junk Post. And I know you, Lance, are also a big fan of this as well. And you are currently trying to get a guest from Miami Vice on your show one day, which I will not name just yet until it's confirmed. So
you talking to me?
Yeah.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
No, he's talking to Robert De Niro.
Talking to me.
Yeah, hi, man.
Talking to me?
Literally just finished my movie quiz at my apartment, the one I have every year.
How did that go?
Year.
I was asking if that was still going on. Yeah, did it go well then?
Yeah, no, it went really well. The teams were neck and neck the whole way, and ultimately Ben's team won by 2 points. It was really great. We actually had my producer friend, Nicola Gregory, was here, who produced Dream Whilst Black, the BBC drama. And her other half was a boom operator on The Coven with Gail Ann Hurd. So he watched the Gail Ann Hurd interview live, and he had a lot to say about that, which was really interesting. All really nice stuff. So yeah, it was good. It was good. Good quiz. It was had a theme this year, and the theme was raving in the movies. So we had like clips from Human Traffic, Rise of the Foot Soldier, 24-Hour Party People. Then we also had other films with a music theme. So we had clips from Straight Outta Compton. And Bridge Too Far clip. There's always a World War II movie.
Is that Art Imitates Life, Lance?
Art Imitates Life. Well, most of the guests were a lot of my new friends from the raving scene that I've just met this year. So I thought it would be fun for them if we kind of embrace that theme a bit. And it was a mix of them and people from the film industry. It was great. Just the right number of people. We had about 14 people, 7 per side.
That's a big stream.
A lot of drinking was had. I've just kicked them all out. So yeah,
I'm glad I'll check out the replay then later. And in the chat is
no, it's not a live stream. That was an in-person quiz at my house. The one on the live stream.
All right.
English people drinking. Who would have thought?
I know.
I've been doing YouTube for so long. I'm assuming everything's a stream now. It's like
the YouTube. No, this was in person, man. Where are we? Lockdown. The YouTube stream. The YouTube quiz is tomorrow night at 8:00. So I've no idea who's playing yet, but anyone's welcome. Any other YouTubers are welcome. You got to have a YouTube channel to take part.
Yeah,
so,
I'll jump on. Yeah, just before you finish, just need to mention the people in the chat. Claudia P, one of my supporters on Patreon. Thanks for joining us. Nick's always welcome. Atom Gray, Mr. E, and who else? Is there anyone else? Have I missed? Just scrolling down so I don't miss anyone. Well, Lord Toxic, but you're already here anyway. So yeah, and so much in chat right now. I'll have to get through all that later. But what year? So before we get into what has. When was the first time you came across Miami Vice or came into any knowledge about it? Let's start with Lord Toxic anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, this was a big family staple. I come from a big military and law enforcement family, so this was every I want to say it was a Thursday night show, but that might not be right. Whenever it came on, it was on NBC. We would all be sat around the TV watching it. It was a big thing in the family. Of course, I had the uncles and the grandfather saying, "Oh, that's not accurate. A cop wouldn't do that." Yada yada yada, and all that stuff. But yeah, it was from day one, from the very first episode throughout the entirety of the series. I think I was about 8 or 9, so probably a little too young to be watching this, if I'm being honest. But you know, my parents didn't really care about norms.
I know, because you've got all these like drug dealers, prostitutes, fucking like kiddie rapers, everything. It's a dark show.
It's a dark show for sure, even though it's a lot of sunny, no pun intended, locales and things like that. But plus, I grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida, which is about 20 minutes away from Miami. So it's definitely something that when we used to go party, we'd go party down in Miami. And what's crazy is a lot of that still looks like that to this day. They have the the fluorescent pink and blue and turquoise and all that stuff houses. They've got all that stuff. It's still down there by the beach. It still looks like Vice City down there.
I've watched those clips on YouTube on like Ocean Bay hotels, shit like that, and yeah, it's I do believe it. It still looks very 80s. So yeah. RT and Z. When was the first time you came to knowledge with this show? When did you first start watching it?
So when this show came on television, we'd left the UK and I was living in Canada near Toronto. So I was how old was I? 14, I think, when it came out in 1984. So because Canada, Southern Ontario anyway, picks up American stations from Buffalo and New York State and other places. I sort of saw it when it first came on, and it became very influential with sort of the generation that were watching it, both older and younger. So I was at high school. I was just started high school then. And the kids were really into it. And, wearing loafers with no socks became a thing. Certain colors became very popular, certain hairstyles. I have a little bit to say about it and my impressions of the show and what I think about it later on. But so I first encountered it when I was in high school. And it was a thing. It was very influential. I can only imagine how much of an impact it made in American high schools, but it certainly made an impact in Canada that time too.
Yeah, because it does look like it has imprinted a lot, especially in today, especially when we had when I was a teenager, when Vice City came out, and it's definitely got that look. It was like drawing in from Miami Vice and Scarface, and even Miami Vice and Vice City also had Michael Philip Thomas as Lance Vance, which was I never knew at the time. Actually, never knew anything. I heard of Miami Vice, but I'd never seen it.
Well, only since you brought it up, I found out that a lot of the NPC characters that are walking around in Vice City, they're spouting off dialogue that was clipped from Miami Vice TV show. So a lot of the stuff, like if you listen close to some of the things they say, it's clipped off of lines and even straight up dialogue that's out of the TV show, the original run series. So.
I believe that. I do believe that because why not? I mean, it's a good little Easter egg, from what influenced it.
Yeah.
So thank you, RT and Lance. First time you came to knowledge of this show, did you watch it when it first came on at the start?
I did. So the show premiered in the States in September of '84, but in UK it didn't premiere until February of '85. We got it a bit later, I think, because that's what
we always do,
happened.
Don't we?
Yeah, it was the same with movies. We'd normally get movies 6 months to a year later after they kind of knew how to market it in Europe. So here's the big thing, and this is why it was successful. The big cop duo show up to this point in the UK that did really well for the viewing figures was Starsky and Hutch. And Starsky and Hutch, which started in the 70s, I think came to the end of its run finally, 5 or 6 seasons, however many they did. I think it was around 1980, something like that, 80, 81. So there was a vacancy for a new cop buddy show, and there were quite a few pilots that were put forward that were not successful. The reason I think that this one hit a certain zeitgeist is because most shows were always set in California. We had Chips, but Chips was very kind of 5:45 Saturday afternoon. The violence was very minimal. It was a kind of family show, Chips, in a way. This show was very, very different. It had very vibrant colors. The music was very of the time. That you had that incredible score. The images were very fast. There was a lot of naked flesh. It was very kind of Miami is new and exciting. I've never heard of this place because in the UK, Miami wasn't really that well known before that. It wasn't a place that typically people in the UK talked about. We talked about New York. We talked about LA. Miami was kind of not. This was the show that put Miami on the map for Europe, really. And it was different from the other shows that we'd had. There are some similarities to Starsky and Hutch, but this one was a lot more realistic. It was a bit more grounded, and like I think was it Toxic that said it was quite dark, very dark as it went on. I think the first season is quite tame compared to seasons 2 and 3, but obviously we'll talk about them at a later time. And the other thing that was good about it was all shot on location. So it looked expensive. And it was expensive. It was over $1 million per episode, which was a lot of money back then, about 10 million today. But because you had all those waterways, you had speedboats. There's a lot of stuff in the show that we didn't have in Starsky and Hutch. Starsky and Hutch is very urban, very enclosed, much more claustrophobic. This show was very expansive. It felt the universe felt very big. So it was very different. And I was allowed to stay up and watch it. And it was weird because it was on like a Tuesday night at like 9:20 or something, which was unusual for a show like this to do a midweek slot. But I was allowed to stay up and watch it. It was very heavily trailered in the UK, lots of press. So we knew about it weeks ahead. And don't forget, we only had 4 channels back then. So not lots of options. You were always looking, what is the next show I'm going to watch, Yeah. So I saw the first, I think I saw all of the first season when it debuted, and probably watched it avidly until about season 3, and then I discovered Girls, so.
Yeah, well, it was the 80s as well. I mean, you had 2 guys to draw upon to try and get girls. You had these 2 very fucking cool, very charming, suave bastards. You had like Crockett with his sort of laid back cowboy charm, and you had Tubbs with his more gritty street sort of slick style as well.
And
yeah, and you can really see this is a product of its time. Only this could have only worked in the 80s. It only could have, because it was really taking advantage of everything that was in the 80s. You can really tell it's trying to promote some of the latest songs as well, because I've noticed like whenever they have a song play for 5 minutes while a character goes off and brews and have little flashbacks, and we know what you're doing, but it was still a good show. I mean, it's a nice little time capsule, but it still hasn't dated. The storylines are still very strong. The writing is still good. The actors are still very good.
Was this the season?
Some of it.
Was this the season that had "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins? Was it this season or was it later?
Yeah. It started off with that very first pilot episode, and it's after where he finds one of the coppers is a rat. And that song
because
plays.
This show put that song to into number 1 somewhere. I forget whether it was the UK or the States. It had already been out in the UK, and it charted again because of Miami Vice. I don't think the Americans have discovered it, so it might be they got to number 1 in America because of this show.
Yeah, they did actually do songs as well, that wet pop songs that were just made for the show. There's a big compilation on YouTube somewhere about the fake 80s songs that was put into Miami Vice at the time. But it did start.
Jan Hammer, wasn't it?
Jan
Hammer
as
yeah.
well. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've seen another TV program in the early 80s that was using synthesizer music. Most of it was still using, the old instrumental scores like Magnum PI, and it definitely did have a cinematic feel. I mean, you can really see 1980s Michael Mann in there as well before he evolved into 90s Michael Mann with Heat.
I think this was the first cop show ever to have a synthesized soundtrack, I believe.
I think so as well, because I've rarely seen any other 80s shows that have a synthesized soundtrack. I mean, I think the A-Team came out the same year, the year before, and that had a cool old school instrumental kind of thing.
That was I've got the vinyl for the A-Team. That's not a synth. It's got
it's Mike Post.
A-Team was 1984.
Come on, we're all hearing it now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Who's going to sing it first?
Well, I don't know.
On the A-Team or Miami Vice?
Well, the A-Team, because no one can sing Miami Vice.
Oh, look, they've locked us in this shed with lots of tools and a drill. Maybe we can turn it into a machine gun.
Thank goodness we got these cabbages for ammunition.
Oh God, yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah. Speaking of the intros, I mean, the intro of Miami Vice is pretty fucking good, because you're basically seeing the glamorous touristy side of Miami. The beaches, the jockey shows, all that stuff, and then you get to the actual show. You got pimps, hookers, drug dealers, fucking murderers, and it's a good little contrast as well that works.
Well, the tourist
against each other. Yeah,
like in that trivia track that I put in there, the tourist industry boomed after the beginning of that. Most of the stuff that you see was used in other commercials that happened in the 80s, like Miami Dade County Highlight, that game with the ball and the
The Scoop.
The Scoop. You know, like that, all that stuff, the Greyhound racing, all that stuff became super duper popular in the 80s. Like, you know, and like I said, the Kelly family sat around the TV watching it. You know, it's like, oh, I know where that is. That's over on Bay Street. Oh, I know that. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's, hey, they showed the one thing right there, you know. So I mean, it was very familiar, and I was always surprised that, you know, growing up, you know, we had like a TV show, how rare that was to have a TV show that was not only so iconic, but like set in this place that like I lived and grew up in, you know. So
yeah.
Angry Monkey in the chat has mentioned a season 2 episode. That's Where the Buses Don't Go. Probably one of the best episodes of the show and one of the best 80s episodes of television. Bruce McGill guest stars now.
Oh God, yeah.
Won't spoil it. Great episode
for
though.
a different stream though, if it's season 2.
Yeah.
I will do. I'm gonna do a few more next week and next year. Sorry. So yeah, and it was. I think when you mentioned before, like the story in season was 1 hour a bit tame compared to the other seasons, but they still pack a lot of punch. Though they still sort of highlight the mental toll this job can put on people. I mean, especially Heart of Darkness with Al Bundy himself, Ed O'Neill, which fucking broke my heart at the end. It was and this show really did have a lot of good nihilistic endings. I mean, the good guys wouldn't always win. Even if they had enough evidence to get some fucking feds would show up and say, sorry, we need him for a case, so we're releasing him. Sorry, you wasted your time.
This was the first show that I saw. You know, obviously I was very young, but I'd be hard pressed, even if I was a little older, to tell you any other. You know, maybe Lance could tell us if there was other shows that they had this sort of, you know, downside to. You know, it's like, you know, the good guys didn't always win, and sometimes the good guys, the protagonist, did some really, you know, and I know it's not in season 1, but I mean, there's a thing in a later season where Crockett guns an unarmed man down. It's like, whoa. Like, you know, and now, of course, it was copied and done in other places. You know, did you see the sunrise on Magnum PI and stuff like that? But I mean, as you guys mentioned, and I know we're kind of having a laugh about the A-Team. I mean, that was the A-Team was a hard sell to the network because they were like, what are we going to do with this special forces, you know, air cav guys, you know, running around?
Yeah, we're going to have them never kill anyone, basically.
Right.
It got more and more ridiculous as it went on.
Right, and that was a big fear when they did the reboot movie in 2010. They were like, "What are you gonna shoot at the ground and make the cars flip over a bunch of times and things like that?" So, I mean, this was a tough sell, and keep in mind this came out 1 year after A-Team, so it was a tough sell to have you know, all this stuff going on. You know, people doing heroin and you know, child sex trafficking and you know, people selling their kids for dope, and you know, the good guys are
that
really
episode did not air either. It's only on the DVD, sadly, and I think it was just too much at the time anyway. But it's on the DVD now.
Which episode was that didn't air? Which one?
I think it's like the third time Pam Grier comes back as well. It's where this woman sells her 14-year-old daughter to some pimps just so she can score some crack or dope.
Is this in season 1? Is this in season 1?
5?
Oh, okay. Well, let's not go down that rabbit hole then.
Yeah, no, we're further along. Angry Mink is talking naming a lot of good of the season episodes. We will get there, mate. We will get there. Don't worry.
For sure.
We will get there.
I mean, something to keep in mind. Oh, sorry, something to keep in mind about the background of this show and the wider world is we're heading into America's war on drugs.
Yes.
You know,
yeah,
we're heading into a time when cocaine was the sort of the demon drug of the day. This is before methamphetamine was a big thing.
Yeah.
So in the background, this show really confronted that, not always in the most realistic way, but it was very open about how big a commercial industry, you know, the importation of cocaine was, you know, and that the allure of easy money The Smuggler's Blues, right?
The Smuggler's
Yeah.
Blues, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the good episodes of that is
that's my
really
favorite
one
season
of
one
my
episode.
favorite episodes. I know.
I
I'll
don't
get into
think we
that as
got
well. 'Cause
any.
it is in my top 5. So I think
I don't think we got a darker show or equivalent until the 90s, because Homicide: Life on the Street and NYPD Blue are the only other two that I can think of that really sort of went gritty, and I love both.
Hill
those
Street
shows.
Blues.
Oh yeah, I mean
that was
Hill Street Blues.
that was even
Street
more
Blues was a
grimy,
weird
wasn't it?
show,
It was in.
Tony.
Yeah. So before I
was-
go on to it further, I need to establish.
Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah, we will know. We will go top from bottom. The top 5. We'll go one each. Right, one episode.
Sorry, Luke. I'm just laughing at this comment from Mr. E. God bless you.
go on.
About Hill Street Blues, Cagney and Lacey. 21 jumps. So Hill Street Blues and Cagney and Lacey, all right, as being grounded. 21 Jump Street as being grounded. I got to laugh at that a little bit. That's
Cagney and
that's very
Lacey
nice. Bless you.
Cagney and Lacey was good, but I didn't think it was particularly gritty. There wasn't that many episodes that were like really left me feeling whoa. But then I don't know, it was all right. It was good. The actors were great, 2 girls, but I just didn't take to the show particularly.
Oh, do you know what we've missed? We've missed one. So Cop came to our high school, and we had to ask him, questions for career day, whatever. And he said, right, which police television program do you think is the most accurate depiction of police work? And, lots of hands went up, and someone said Miami Vice, someone said Hill Street Blues. And the answer was Barney Miller. TJ Hooker. Barney Miller was the most realistic depiction of police work, because so much of it involves paperwork, working in the office, that sort of stuff. Very few shootouts. Well, at least at that time in history. But yeah, the Barney Miller is probably not. It is gritty in a sense of being very, very grounded, but not probably as confrontational as Miami Vice was in the world of drugs and prostitution.
Well, what you have to also understand, and I like Barney Miller. What you have to understand too is not only was this the advent of the huge, as Lance put it, the big war on drugs and whatnot. It was in the place that all of the drugs was mainly coming into. It wasn't coming through the Mexican border, kind of like where it is now. It was coming through Miami. It was coming through, coming in. They were bringing in the boats and the helicopters. The cocaine cowboys and all of that kind of thing was happening. Also, it was the advent of MTV. MTV became very popular. This was one of the first shows that really capitalized on that kind of, I think that they coined the phrase the MTV vibe, because they had, episodes that turned into sort of pseudo music videos, not, to include, but not limited to the very first episode where they utilize In the Air Tonight, which, as Lance pointed out, had already been out, had already been a song, but they utilized it for not only the soundtrack, but for that very pivotal scene that they have on in the pilot episode. But also, they would have MTV personalities show up. I mean, I know I listed a few of the people that were guest stars, but I didn't want to take up like 20 lines of dialogue here, putting all the people. But if you go to IMDb, it's really countless. But you have all these, singers, as RT pointed out, Smugglers
Ted
Blues,
Nugent,
Glenn Fry.
And he's good in. He's actually fucking good in that episode. He is fun to watch.
Yeah, had all these people, and then they would be on Friday Night Videos, right, which was a big show on MTV. And Friday Night Videos, they'd be like, "Hey, we got so and so, Sheena Easton, and she just guest starred on Miami Vice. Here's a clip from the show." And then they'd make a music video based off of that clip. They made music. Phil Collins made music videos based off of his appearances on Miami Vice. So yeah, it was a very MTV show, and like North English Bastard pointed out, it was a show. It just was this great confluence of a bunch of things happening all at once. The drug war, the time for a gritty cop drama, but slickly done. Michael Mann bringing in all of the elements that he had to bring in to make the show happen. and then the advent of MTV, and so all those things happening all at once made this thing like super duper popular. And I might be misremembering it, and maybe somebody can Google it. I feel like at some point they had this show on Friday night in addition to another night. Like I think they played this show twice a week. I think I remember like trying to catch the
I think you're
rerun
right.
show on a Friday
Yeah,
night.
was it like the show
Yeah.
once and do a rerun? On,
I think in Canada, I'm pretty sure it was played on Friday.
Because Friday night, as everybody knows, well, with Prime TV before streaming was a thing, Friday night is considered the death slot. But this show thrived on it,
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
There's
nice
a complete list of the UK dates and airing times when this came out. I'll drop it in the private chat in case you want to in the main chat. But that's quite. You can see when it came out in the UK. Season 1, 1985, Tuesday nights, and then it got moved. It got bumped up to Thursday, I think, a little bit later, which is a better slot,
Yeah, Thursday nights are great. Yeah, Thursday. NBC wound up owning Thursday for more than a decade, maybe 20 years or so. That's when in the 90s they turned that into must-see TV.
It's
that's what we've lost now, isn't it?
In Wales,
I was going to say that's what we've lost. Oh, go ahead.
In Wales, it used to play after 11 p.m. because the Welsh considered it quite shocking, but in the rest of England, it was 9:25.
Hello, Jam.
I can't
thanks for joining.
Can't confirm or deny that. I didn't live in Wales then, so
yeah, I was wondering.
Okay,
but the Welsh language version was very spicy.
Right, RT, this is your first time on these top 5, so we basically got top for bottom, one episode each, and if we have that same episode on our list, Phil, the next person gets to talk about it, and they cross it off the list. And if we get enough time, if we get enough time, we'll probably still do like favorite guest stars or favorite moments, whatever, just sort of like expand it out a little bit. So yeah, shall we jump right into our top 5 episodes then?
Yeah,
yeah.
Let's
whatever
jump
you want
in.
to do. Yeah, whatever you want to do.
So starting with me. Then I'll go to Toxic, then RT, then Lance. And if Inside Man pops in later, he can run through a couple of them a little bit quickly as if he can. So 5 for me is Lombard. It's like I said, these are...
mate, that's on my list as well.
Is it?
Dennis Farina.
Yes, and I'll let you mention that later.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, fucking great actor, man. And definitely a man favourite as well, but a man regular. He was on Thief as well before that, and I love this episode as well because it kind of ties back into a previous episode where a mother was killed, and he's kind of got to confront his son as well, who's now found out what a monster this guy is, and he's not really a monster. He's basically a guy who's done bad things. He's in a bad life, and he is still human. He's trying to fight to get his son back, but at the same time, his son is a bit pissed off at him. And I just love that moment where Sonny tells him about the mother that was killed by one of his guys, and it's like that stuff just is bad for business. And Sonny's like, "Yeah, we'll tell that to the family who lost her." And it's a very fucking deep moment as well. And the look on Dennis Farina's face as well, knowing that that the woman is died because of him is really haunting. And once again, he's kind of charming as well. Even Sonny and Crockett kind of like him as well. And he has to compromise his morals. He has to give everyone up, grass them up in order to win back favours with his son. But he never does. He never compromises his morals. He has every chance to get out of this, but he doesn't. He risks more more hassle from the law just by not compromising. And it's a very good little final episode. And Lombard is definitely one of the more complex. I wouldn't say villains. He's definitely just a guy who was in a bad line of work. So that's my view on Lombard at the moment. And once again, a pretty good final. I think Lieutenant Calderon would have been a better final just to sort of tie into Brother's Keeper. But what's happened is what's happened. So yeah, Lance, your opinion on Lombard?
Yeah, no, listen, I'm a massive Dennis Farina fan. I mean, I absolutely love him in Midnight Run, which is probably his piece de resistance role. I mean, I
Yeah,
even
you
like
look at
him
me like that, I'll stab you in the neck with a fucking pencil. He's got some good
And I mean,
threats, man. He has.
I like him in. I like his cameo
Get
in
Shorty.
Saving
Get
Private
Shorty as
Ryan.
money.
Get
I like that.
Shorty.
Yeah, get Shorty. But yeah, I mean, this is really early on in his career. What's really nice about this show is
Snatch.
there's so many actors that are really at the beginnings of their career in this show. So many. He's he's quite experienced by this time, but it's just nice to see him very early on in such a great role. And yeah, the moral dichotomy, I like the fact that you hit it on the head, really, that they humanize him. They make him an interesting character. He's not a one-dimensional crime lord, you know. You feel for him. It makes the audience conflicted, and I think that's good writing and good direction. So yeah, that was my first pick as well. So there you go.
Oh, no, thanks for that, Lance. Anyone else has picked Lombard on their top 5 episode?
No, sorry.
Okay, then. Well, Toxic. If not, then I'll get to you on your number 5 pick.
Yeah, I go with my number 5 pick. It's really tough call between the pilot, which I really, really love, but because it puts all the characters in its place, but it does fail in a lot of ways because it's the dialogue becomes a little cheesy and it hadn't quite found its footing yet, so I can't really pick that one.
I agree.
But so I go with for my number 5 pick, I'd say season 1, episode 6, One-Eyed Jack, and that's when they bring in Lieutenant Castillo, played by Edward.
Oh, pick that one too. I picked that one. It's my number 3.
I think that's what Lombard has.
Good choice.
I can't remember now. Is that the one?
Good choice.
Lombard.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Luke, say again.
Yeah, I think One-Eyed Jack is what ties into Lombard with the mother getting killed.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we've lost. The original lieutenant had been killed by a sniper on Crockett's boat. Played to really good character actor. I forget his name. Lance would probably know who played the original lieutenant.
Dan Hayder, I think you're probably talking about.
No,
Is it Dan Hedaya?
No, it wasn't Dan Hedaya. It was
he's on
season
2.
It was the guy that played like the lieutenant in Low Down Dirty Shame.
Might be Jimmy Weeks or Giulio Machuzzo, probably. Are the other 2 character actors in that. What was the character name? Do you remember in the episode?
When I was a kid, he kept calling him Lou, so I thought that was his name, but I found out later that Lou is just slang for lieutenant. Believe
it's not Edward James Olmos that gets killed, is it? From back
No.
Edward
James Olmos. No, it's Gregory. It's Gregory Sierra who had been on Sanford and Son a long time ago. Gregory Sierra, yeah. So he played Lieutenant. Oh, his name was Lou. Oh, so I wasn't wrong. Okay, so I remember that being a thing because I was like,
I can't see him on the IMDb credits for this episode. That's a bit crap of them not to.
Well, he'd been killed. He'd been killed previously.
Okay.
He wasn't killed in the One-Eyed Jack episode. He was killed previously by a sniper who's going after Crockett, and he basically takes a proverbial bullet for him on Crockett's boat, and so yeah, he gets popped, and then Castillo comes in. I think either episode later or 2 episodes later, and he takes over, and it's good. I think that's when the show really started to find its footing because Edward James almost lends this real gravitas to the character. He becomes, and also I don't know if you guys saw the trivia I posted. Edward James almost didn't like Don Johnson very well, and so there's like many episodes where they're really butting heads. So they're very adversarial. Which, if you are that kind of cop, that kind of rogue element type cop, you're going to have a lieutenant that's gonna, especially if he's a by the books guy. That Castillo was, and I really, anytime I ever think of it, I had actually forgotten Gregory Sierra was the original lieutenant on there, and it's funny that they did name him Lou because in cop slang or even military slang, your lieutenant, you call him either LT or Lou. So that's funny that they called him that. But yeah, so that's when his introduction comes in. That's my number 5.
Yeah, I do love the fact that Castillo really starts off like he's gonna be the stick in the mud, but then as you get to know him, he actually is a good guy. He's very straight laced, but at the same time, he'll if it looks like his crew is starting to get a little bit out of hand, he will try to calm them down because not because he wants to be seen as an authority figure, it's because he does care about he does care about officers. He does.
I don't want to slow the stream down, but I will just say that one of my favorite things about him, and it comes off right away in his performances, he has that kind of quiet, menacing calm, in the way that he delivers his lines and the way that he speaks, is that there's no doubt who's in charge. He's not that because at that time in the 80s, the cliched lieutenant or captain was always like screaming at the detectives, and the chief's chewing my ass out, Axel, and stuff like that. And whereas Edward James almost playing Lieutenant Castillo would come across, he just had that real kind of, you guys got to make sure that you're staying frosty when you get out there, It's just when he'd bring it and be like, like everything that he said, because he had that kind of quiet, menacing calm. He's like, you paid attention to him, but yeah, he came off as somebody who, although straight laced, was definitely.
Yeah, even when he's in a fucking crazy explosive situation, he never shouts. I don't think I've heard him scream or shout once in that show. Just
not that I recall. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. So yeah, it's a good episode, and you also feel for the husband as well. He really wants to get his fucking revenge. And they're telling him not to because they know he'll get killed or imprisoned if he does so, because it still ends up being murder. And that's what I love about the writing. Even though it was still finding its footing, there was still enough material in there strong enough to make the show so good.
Would you say that perhaps the ideas in the writing were quite strong? But the execution, the execution, perhaps, or whether the acting was a little bit over the top, or the delivery of lines a little bit forced, or you could see, they went for spectacle. That a great idea was sort of dumbed down for the sake of spectacle, perhaps. Is that fair to say?
I think
you can see a bit of glamour in it, a bit. Yeah,
there was a lot of showboating going on in season 1. A lot of the actors could have reined it in, to say the least. But that's everybody strutting and doing their stuff, isn't it? And I think also, to be fair, Mann didn't perfect writing. This is the show where he learned how to do shit. This is the show that made him the great director that he is today. But in season 1, he's still learning his craft. He's still honing, so he's not there yet. That's why some of the dialogue ain't that great. He was much more about the visuals at the beginning. He was, because he started off as an editor, I think, editing music videos, and sort of his career went from there. And working with actors probably wasn't his forte initially. Now I think he's one of the best directors in the world. But I think you can see this is early days, So, which is fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's your pick for number 5, and RT.
Right. Well, I'll be surprised if this episode does not turn up on a lot of your lists, because my number 5, and when I think about it, I probably would have put it a bit higher, because it has one of the coldest final lines of any show. You'll see. And so my episode 5 is Evan.
Yeah, I was almost going to have that on my list, but I don't know about awards, but there was others that I liked a bit better. But yeah, it is definitely a good episode, though. With Crockett has a lot of guilt over an old colleague who they found out was gay, and he didn't really stick up for him, and it's haunted him ever since. And yeah, sorry, sorry. Go on,
no, you go ahead. No, that's a good explanation. So the episode, for those of you who haven't seen it, the episode is about an arms deal for Mac 10s, and Mac 10s I remember being ubiquitous in 80s action show. They're almost Uzis in terms of ubiquity in 80s action programs. Mac 10s, they were everywhere. So but these are Mac 10s with armor piercing bullets, and it's about it's about this arms deal set up by generic Hispanic bad guy number 5, Mr. Guzman, right? So Evan is undercover. I mean, when we get to it, we'll have to talk about the undercover stuff at some point. But anyway, so Evan, played by William Russ, I think, is undercover, and he and Crockett, as Luke, as Northern English Bastard pointed out, have this shared history. They were friends. They come up together through the academy, and then there was this bullying incident with this other colleague who was gay, closeted, and that led to his suicide, I think, if I'm remembering the episode correctly. Evan and Crockett both have tremendous. Oh God, sorry, his self-deletion. Sorry, Luke, I didn't catch that one in time. Anyway,
keep going, man. Keep going.
Yeah. Apologies, everyone. I don't know if there's a disclaimer now you need to put in this. Oh, sorry, mate. Anyway, but his no, it's the word that started with S and rhymes with
Always sad. Yeah.
Yeah, we just don't use that word on YouTube.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a stupid thing that happens, and come on, it's a fucking word, and it's about I know it's a very hard thing for people to talk about, but we still shouldn't censor.
No, that's all right. But look,
no,
you probably won't get flagged for the context that we're speaking today.
Well, this episode deals with it quite in a mature way, because what they deal with is the colleague's self-deletion and the fact there was tremendous prejudice in the police about people being gay, and that Crockett felt tremendous guilt, but Evan did too. And they have a confrontation on Crockett's boat where Evan, they were friends, very close friends, and worked together, but now they hate each other. And Evan points a gun at Crockett and says, do you want to do 10 paces? Should we have a go at 10 paces? Should we shoot each other? And he takes a bullet out and says, this one might have had your name on it. Just think about that. There is a bullet out there with your name on it. And that's what makes the finale. So can I spoil this, Luke?
Yeah.
What will it record?
It's been like 40 years now. It's been 40 years since
it's been over 40 odd years. So the finale's very poignant. Is they meet up for the eventual arms deal, suitcase full of cash, Guzman with the Mac 10s, and it goes a little bit wrong, right? And as Crockett and Tubbs turn their back to walk away, Guzman draws and aims to fire at Crockett, shoot him in the back. Evan rushes him and takes the bullet instead. And then Evan, and there's, the inevitable gun battle, but Evan dies in Crockett's arms and looks up at him. And the last line is, now it's your turn to take a bullet. And Crockett sort of breaks down, because they had their, they hate their friends, hates each other, and all the emotion comes out. I mean, at one point, Evan turns up drunk and he's crying earlier in the episode because he feels guilt too. But that final, him dying in Crockett's arms and saying that line, to me, that was a really powerful finale. A little bit contrived, but still.
I remember that.
Still,
you can still tell the heart's in the right place, though.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was still some very powerful moments in this series, and a lot of it was done better in season 2 and 3, and even to a lesser and a little bit lesser in season 4, and even more lesser in season 5. But it's still a very strong start to a very fucking good series. And
I'd say 2 and 3 are peak. But anyway, sorry, that's me. So episode number 5, Evan.
Yeah, nice one, man. So yeah, that means we've all done our 5 now. I think Inside Man should be popping in very soon, so you'll probably get a couple out of the way soon. And yeah, number 4. Let me get onto my notes. Rites of Passage, and it's mostly because we've got fucking Pam Grier on there as well, who's always fucking good. I mean, she always makes my top list. Yes, and so
Foxy Brown.
And this is where we see.
I would date her even now.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
She's still looking good. And this is about a young girl named Diane who is who is exploited by a modelling agent. I say that loosely, played by John Turturro, and it turns out that this young woman named Diane is also the sister to Pam Grier, who's also a colleague of Tubbs from New York, and she wants to try and get her sister out of it. And sadly her sister has become a heroin addict, drug addict, everything, and she's abused by John Turturro's character, and they do finally get her out, but then he finds a way and he kills her. And I will never hear the song "I Want to Know What Love Is" the same way ever again.
Oh God,
And
yeah,
the look on
that scene.
and the look on Sonny Crockett's face as they're wheeling Diane's corpse in the hospital. It's God, it's I don't know. Don Johnson can do those. I've lost someone I should have protected, and it's haunting me faces. He can really pull that off. I don't know. He just does it for me, man. And yeah, once again, Pam Grier just comes in. She fucking guns down John Turturro, and then Crockett and Tubbs try to stop her, but it's too late. She's done the deed, and she knows she's going to get fucking murdered. And she hands the gun, saying, "Read me right."
Yeah, that's right.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, I love the nihilism of the show. I do. It's like I just love how it just doesn't give a fuck, and that's what made me really love the show all the more. Yes, so Tony K, you wanted William Russ for American History X. Is he actually in that film?
He's the dad.
Oh shit! Yeah, right. The flashback. That is actually a very good scene.
At the time, William Russ was best known for Boy Meets World, which is what I was watching at the time.
He's a great actor, very, very underrated actor, William Russ.
Yeah,
and it's a good moment because it does add a lot of context to why Edward Norton's character is the way he is, even more, and kind of got a point a little bit as well. It's you know, but that's what gives the film so much context that is needed. That's what makes American History X a lot smarter than most films talking about racism, even though it didn't come out the way you wanted, Tony K. And I really would love to have seen what you would have done if you had full creative control.
Lance's stream on that was brilliant on American History X.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it was even more interesting that we had the director of it watching at the time. So, you know,
that's how I met Tony K.
Yeah, no, God, you annoyed the hell out of us on that night.
We're all friends.
We're friends now, man. We're friends now. Yeah, they're supporting us as well, which is fucking awesome.
I'm still trying to get him on for that interview that he agreed to come on to. And
they've had a big. I don't want to derail the stream, but they've had a big delay with his film being released. So
okay, well we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about
yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's my number. My number 4 was. Rites of Passage, and I'm still stuck on Evan. Sorry about that. I just got so into talking about the episode, I forgot to.
Some great comments in chat about the Evan's death is not well. It's as much a sacrifice; it's suicide. Evan's death. I think PB makes that comment in chat. Yeah.
You just said it again.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think sorry.
I'll sort it. It's all right. I'm a pretty chilled out streamer anyway. I'm not too rigid about YouTube flagging me. It's just really annoying though. That's it. When they do.
You see that's why I'm just an amateur. You guys are pros, right? You're the real YouTube pros. You know these things. I'm so sorry. I've brought Wales into disrepute. I brought Wales into. Well, you're a published author now as well, so you know who knows. You'll be the next critical drinker. You'll be the American analytical alcoholic. You know?
Yeah, bigger.
I'm probably not going to be off bar after my review of Rogue Element.
Bigger, meaner, louder. The analytical alcoholic, Wes Kelly. What the fuck? That movie sucks at shit.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a terrible impression. Next.
So number four, Low Toxic.
Yeah, so I don't know how to quantify this one. So you just, you tell me what the rules are. So they did a 2-parter episode early on in season 1, which is not super normal, or wasn't at the time. So they have Calderon. I might be mispronouncing this. Calderon's Return, Part 1 and Part 2. And then they title them, which is interesting that they title each one. So it wasn't I don't believe it was in the original, but it is on the DVD and it is on the rewatch. The Part 1 is Hit List and Part 2 is Calderon's.
Yeah, if it's the same story, you can count it as one. So yeah, you can have both Part 1 and 2 in there.
Yeah. So this is one of those instances where they brought they brought a story that had been kind of building up to that point, and obviously it's pre Castillo arriving, and it's one of the they kill off one of the main characters, which up to that point, I don't believe they had done. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the first 5 episodes, they'd not had a main character,
No, I
bumped,
don't think
bumped
so.
off at that point. Yeah. So, it was pretty
Quite
cool.
rare for shows to do that full stop at this time as well. It was quite rare that
Yes.
shows would kill off a character
Sure.
that early.
Yeah, and so it's I like a show that has consequences to this point. I mean, I'd seen growing up watching Charlie's Angels, and one of the angels gets shot, but she's okay. She goes into a coma and then she gets out. And, stuff like that. Things like that happen. But on this, like somebody gets popped and they stay gone, and that's it. And and then they get replaced by somebody else. This happens. I mean, Miami Vice is not exactly Game of Thrones, but this definitely showed that there's consequences in this universe. It's definitely some things. It's a dangerous job, and if you get a little too close to certain criminal elements, they might just hire a wet work guy, a sicario, an assassin, and come after you. Which they do, and not only they target Crockett, but they target his whole family, and the whole team has to kind of like circle the wagons in order to protect him until this can be brought to its culmination. So I like it. So yeah, if that's okay, if you're allowing it, yeah, part 1 and part 2, which is episodes 4 and 5, I believe, of Calderon's return. So yeah.
I know, and then even worse, Tubbs falls in love with his fucking daughter, and he has to take him in.
Yeah, that was another interesting thing, and I also, again, I was very young, but I didn't understand the dynamic between you have the main character and you have the sidekick, and that kind of established that they were partners. It wasn't the Don Johnson show co-starring, Philip Michael Hall or whatever. It was Crockett and Tubbs, man. It was like they were on equal footing. There'd be episodes where Crockett would take a back seat to something for a Tubbs storyline, and vice versa. And even to a lesser degree, even Castillo would take lead in a couple episodes, really good ones too, by the way. But but yeah, that's my for number 4. That's what I'd go with.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Toxic. And anyone else got Calderon's return on their list?
No.
No. Okay, we'll move on to RT, your number 4. And yeah, thanks for joining us, PB, in the chat. Sorry I didn't mention you earlier, but yeah, you are very welcome. And yeah, Peter Gabriel's on pretty much a lot of these soundtracks as well. So yeah.
Yeah, very big at the time.
Okay.
Don't give up.
Yeah, no. Oh yeah, that season 5 episode where he was just remembering who he was. Yeah, they really dragged that out a bit too long, didn't they? The Crockett losing his memory, and now he's Sonny Burnett. I think, yeah. But yeah, number 4 on RT for season 1.
Now, I would expect someone else to have number 4 on their list as well. My number 4, really should have put Evan higher up, to be honest. Anyway, number 4 is mostly because of the guest star. Had a man who went on to become quite famous for shows like Moonlighting, and of course Die Hard propelled him to superstardom.
I've got this one.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I won't talk about it because Lance will do a better job than I will, and I might say the S word again. So I'm just going to say No Exit, guest starring Bruce Willis, and I want to hear what Lance has to say, because my recollection, I watched it a long time ago. My recollection's quite fuzzy, and Bruce Willis wasn't the Bruce Willis. It wasn't peak Bruce Willis yet. I mean, there's flashes of it, but
he was still a newcomer, wasn't he, at the time?
He was very much, in his early stages, his salad days, I guess, as Shakespeare would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd rather hear what Lance has to say, but No Exit will be my number 4.
Well, the main reason I remember this episode is because suddenly there's that sequence where the Vandal pulls back and there's a M60 machine gun on a tripod and that shoots at them and shoots up the neighborhood, and they both get very upset. And he's like, "Yeah, I tend to get upset when I get shot at with a machine gun." What's interesting about this episode is that this episode is directed by David Soul of Starsky
Really?
and Hutch. Yeah. This episode was also called, at one point, it was called Three-Eyed Turtle. So in some places it's listed as that. I don't know why. But I mean, for me, it was one of the big action episodes of the season. They're chasing down the arms dealer and stuff, and it just stuck in my memory because it had this kind of M60s were kind of cool as well. We saw them in the A Team, and you didn't see them in cop shows.
First Blood.
very often.
First Blood would have
Yeah,
been the big debut.
Yeah,
of the
but
M60.
I don't think we'd ever seen an M60 in a cop show before this with a villain
Actually,
firing.
Switek is on First Blood as well. He's one of the there's one of the police officers
so
on it.
This was like the first. This was the first use of that in a cop show that I can recall. Anyway, it was a fun episode. I've got it down on my list as well. But there's 2 episodes directed in this season by the Starsky and Hutch guys, and this one is directed by David Soul. So
Was it Stinger missiles? Was it Stinger missiles he was selling?
Yeah, and like mate, again, I haven't watched it recently, so it was one of my favorite.
Was that the episode that he blew up his first car?
No, that was season 3.
No, they shoot up a car. I don't know about blow a car up. They shoot up
Liam Neeson. There's an IRA episode, episode 1, season 3, where Liam Neeson is going to shoot down an airliner with a Stinger missile. But I remember Stinger missiles being topical because of the Afghan war, right? The Soviet Afghan war at the time.
Yeah, because we furnished them with it.
You did, you sneaky buggers.
Back when the Afghans were on our side, to take.
Well, with the Mujahideen, right? And look who they turned into. I mean, look, talk about the law of unintended consequences, eh?
Well.
Yeah. Anyway, I haven't got anything else to
Sorry,
say about.
didn't mean to bring the stream down there.
No, it's fine. I like when my country gets shit on during these streams.
Oh, that wasn't a poke at America. I think. I mean, if you look at that, you've seen the Tom Hanks film, Charlie Wilson's War. It's not that America shouldn't have messed around there because they were doing the right thing. I mean, if the Soviets had conquered Afghanistan, which, who knows if it ever happened, if they had, in terms of its strategic value to the eastern part of Asia, India, Pakistan, those places, God, who knows what the world would look like now? If the Soviets had won that war, who knows where they'd have stopped, right? So that America provided Stinger missiles was the absolute right thing to do, but it was the end game that America messed up and not actually providing enough assistance to stop the Taliban coming into power in the way they did. Well, that's just my take. Sorry, there's history of the 80s 101. I'll stop now. No, that was not a poke at America, though. That's not a poke at America at all.
But we will move on.
America
now.
in the 80s was awesome.
We will move on now because
sorry,
Luke.
Luke.
It is a good episode, though. I mean, we've got because
that's my fault.
Once again, we get another nihilistic ending where it's looking like they have enough evidence to put him away. Then the feds come and fucking let him go because he's going to be reliable for some kind of case. And the way the wife just shows up saying you're letting him go before gunning him down, and that haunting Jan Hammer music plays. It gets you. But my favourite moment is when the wife knows that the police are onto him, but she still has to play along until they get enough evidence. And he's just Bruce Willis is just beating the shit out of her, and Sonny Crockett is listening in, and you can see he is dying to jump in there and save her, but he can't. Otherwise, he'll mess up the case. And no words are said whatsoever. It's just Don Johnson acting with his facial expressions, his body language, everything. So that's that is episode 4. So Lance, you're episode 4 now. Lance.
Oh no, we've lost Lance.
Looks like his mic's muted, isn't it?
Yes. You're right, man. Let's have a look private chat. Yeah, he's going to be back for he's going to be back soon, so we'll have to jump ahead for now.
Pit stop.
Jump ahead for now, yeah. Okay, so number 3 now.
Number 3.
So let me get my notes up again. What episodes did I have? Okay. So we've done Rites of Passage already, and Hearts of Darkness. I mean, this was like the 2nd episode in, and this did not take no fucking prisoners. This showed what being undercut, how extended periods of time, a long time being undercover can do to your mental toll. It did not give a shit. This was and you had Ed O'Neill as the undercover cop Artie, and you can really see this is a guy that's been undercover way too long. And by the time they do finally get the case solved, he just can't go back to his real life. And then later you find out he's hung himself. And fucking hell, I mean, I look, as soon as I saw,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's on my list too.
I know. So yeah, it's once again, it just even though the show is still finding its feet, it still had a lot of powerful fucking themes and storylines and everything. And you got Sonny and Crockett trying to crack down this kiddie porn. I mean, it starts off where a young girl is being exploited for a porno flick, and damn man, this must have been something very, very difficult to try to get into the air in the 80s, but they managed it. They did a real good job, and Ed O'Neill shows he can really fucking act. He wasn't just Al Bundy, the miserable sort of cynic that you can't help but relate to. He could play a really tragic figure, and you really do feel for him. So that's my
can't dispute any of that.
I know. So that is kind of
Heart of Darkness is on. Sorry, Luke, go ahead.
No, sorry, finish anyway. I was finished anyway.
No, I was just going to say Heart of Darkness is number 2 on my list. So I won't even talk about it now because you've summed it up beautifully. No,
let's see your thoughts anyway. Come on, at least for the sake of the stream, because I think you might have some good viewpoints as well, and I don't want to listen to them. I love listening to other people's views on things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have a confession to make about this one. It's when I see Ed O'Neill not playing Al Bundy and not doing Modern Family, like younger Ed O'Neill, I always think of his character from the Andrew Dice Clay movie, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Booty time.
Where he sort of
booty time.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, where he's really ridiculous. So, yeah, that I struggle to take him seriously, but he does very well in this episode. Hard-hitting stuff. So yeah, I can only amplify what you said, Luke. I couldn't disagree with you in any of it. Do you enjoy that one, Wes?
Yeah. I don't mind seeing it. Back then, I didn't really know Ed O'Neill for anything at that point. So I saw it in real time. So Ed O'Neill had yet to do Married with Children at that point. Married with Children didn't come out until 87. So it doesn't affect me. Rewatching it now, I don't know. It might have an effect. But I always find Ed O'Neill to be kind of have a lot of gravitas as an actor. He's popped up in like the TV show The Unit, and he's pretty solid in that as well. So
he was in Black Hawk Down. He's in Black Hawk Down. He's making the margaritas up for the guy that's injured in the helicopter. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, really small role.
It's supposed to be a bit of a fucking tough nut in real life.
You're talking about the dad from Modern Family, right? Same actor.
Yeah. Ed O'Neill.
Yeah, he's in Black Hawk Down. Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Married with Children.
Which dad are we talking about? Are we talking about the dad with the dark hair, or are we talking about the older dad, Jay?
The one who's married to Sofia Vergara.
Oh no! Yeah, okay. He's not in Black Hawk Down. No, sorry. Yeah. I'm mixing my dads up in Modern Family.
If anybody's ever seen movies or the TV show The Unit and it's movie Inception, Spartan from 2004, he still carries a lot. He plays like I think he's the chief of staff in that, and he has a lot of gravitas. Spartan's an incredible film. So yeah,
he's in Wayne's World. Well,
he is in Wayne's World. Yeah,
he is.
Yes, indeed.
He's a right psycho fucking that, and God, it cracks me up. He really does it. Why did they come to me to die? Why did they come to me to die? So yeah, okay. So let's just mixed up what we're doing now. So I think Lance, we was on to you for number 4. So do you want to do a number 4 and 3 on your list?
Up. Maybe I had to go finish. Well,
sorry, I just had to. I was getting my cup of tea. Is it my go?
Yeah,
as you go before me, I had to jump ahead.
Yeah, your turn.
Yeah,
my number 3 pick.
Yeah, well, I mean, you missed your number 4 while you're dropping the kids off.
No, I've done my number 4.
Oh, okay.
My number
Did you?
4
Oh
was
yeah, yeah. So
the
number
same as was No Exit with episode
Yeah,
10 with Dave.
same as
That was my
mine.
number.
Same as
Yeah.
mine.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I think I've done my number 3 now. So yeah, it's down to Low Toxic anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go.
I'm.
Go ahead.
So do you want me to do my number 3 now or not? I'm confused now.
No, because I got a little confused there with the number 4s and 3s, but yeah,
Let
it's
Toxic
Toxic.
go. Let Toxic
number
go.
3 now.
Fine.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go with Home Invaders, which is
Ooh,
Abel Ferreira, a rare
dark,
television episode for him.
dark.
And this
Mate,
is one
that's
of the
also
ones...
that's also my number 3. So there you
Oh
go.
wow! So
Yeah, so you can talk about that after Toxic has done. Yeah. So yeah.
Sure,
I'll let Toxic.
I'll try not to
Toxic
step
go.
on your toes too much, Lance.
No, man,
But,
you go. All good.
So for the uninitiated, this is the one where we start seeing a lot of divided loyalties with Crockett. You know, he has his loyalty to the squad, he has his loyalty to the team, and to the new lieutenant who he's still adversarial with, but it's his LT. But his former LT with the robbery homicide, or RHD, is basically Castillo's saying, this guy's mishandling this for whatever reason, whether he's crooked or incompetent, regardless. And it starts to kind of pull like this divided loyalty storyline out of Crockett, to try to figure out what's going on, and he wants to stay loyal to his former crew and his former boss, but at the same time he wants to stay loyal to the people that he has. This has also got one of the first essays that happens, and I'm going to be doing a video on this later, but for Heat 2, which is in development, but the book is already done. This storyline of the home invaders doing essay on the victims, because I'm not going to say the word on YouTube, but doing essay on the victims was written by Michael Mann for specifically this, but it was utilized to greater degree for Heat Part 2, in a earlier case, because Heat 2 has an earlier case with Vincent Hanna where he tracks down robbers that are basically doing the same thing. And now, of course, this was an 80s TV show, so they couldn't show and do all of the stuff, but it'll be, excuse the pun, fleshed out a bit in not only the novel but in the book. So yeah, some brutal stuff in this one, and it's definitely stuck with me. It's one of the first episodes that I saw. Hey, calm down, RT. Quit barking at me. You'll get your turn. Just relax.
Yeah, I was wondering what was happening.
But yeah, we get a lot of cool. Edward James Olmos is in this, of course. This is one of the first ones where we don't have Tubbs is not in appearance in this episode. He'd actually gotten hurt on another project that he was working on, so I think they just say something like, "Oh, he's away in New York on something for whatever." But Esai Morales is in this. David Patrick Kelly, Olivia Brown, who had both just done 48 Hours together. So yeah, it's a really great episode, and pretty dark. I think this. I don't know. I'm not going to say this is the first one that becomes super dark. But another cool trivia about this: Chuck Adamson, who they based Vincent Hanna for Heat on, this case came straight from his files, where
Right.
yeah. So, but yeah, really cool stuff, man. This is when I really feel like Michael Mann was finding his footing and doing the things that he does, and I like that he's kind of had this shared universe where he keeps using this stuff over and over again in his projects, so that it feels very familiar to you. If you guys haven't watched this episode in a while, I would definitely watch it again and take a look, especially as it relates to what the main storyline of Heat 2 is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember the essay bit. I think this is Sandra Santiago as well, when she's on the case pretending to be a hooker, isn't it?
I believe so. I don't know. Are you talking about the female detective?
Yeah, played by she plays Gina. That's her.
Gina, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of a crazy situation as well, because this is one of the main characters, and she's kind of put into this position where this bad thing is really happening to her, and your heroes don't get essayed in a show, not at least not back then anyway.
I mean, they did it. In a year or two later, they did it on Hunter, where Dee Dee got essayed. But yeah, this is definitely something that they showed that this is a different kind of show. This is not the thing this is not what you're used to seeing with this, and that there's a really dark undertone to this. I think this show really. You guys correct me if you think I'm wrong or overreaching, but I think this show ran or so that the Shield could walk. I mean, it really. I don't think there would be the Shield if they didn't have stuff like this in Miami Vice back in the 80s.
Yeah, because it does
Yeah,
take a lot of
broke,
risks as
definitely
well.
broke a lot of taboos. A lot of TV drama taboos were broken with this show for sure.
I mean, you had an incest storyline in season 2 as well. I mean, and it's not revealed until the end, but Christ, it's shocking. It is so shocking. And once again, it's why I like this show. It just did not give a fuck. It took risks and it paid off because it was one of the biggest shows in the 80s. And I think you're right. I think you're right that it did walk so the Shield could run, and many other shows after.
Yeah. Oh, I said it backwards, didn't I? By the way, a bit of trivia that I can confirm. The diner that the team goes to, it is called Irish Times. It is still down there to this day. I went to it and visited it on my most recent little hiatus on my journey down to Florida that I went to last month or the month before.
It's funny you mentioned the Shield, because the moment you talked about characters in the show being essayed, I remember I actually stopped watching the Shield in season 2, when what's the name of the captain? The Latino guy is the captain.
Aceveda.
Yeah, he gets essayed by these two drug dealers. Yeah. Anyway, but like that at that point, I thought, oh, I don't think I really want to watch this anymore. And I came back to it later, but like that stuff, that's intense stuff. That is.
Yeah.
But you're right. You put it well that this show walked so the Shield could run, because the Shield really goes hard with it.
Yeah.
Terrible pun there.
So yeah, thank you for your number 3, and I think Artie, you already mentioned it kind of already, didn't you?
Can I chip in my notes on the because I picked the same one, so we don't change.
Oh yeah. Feel free, man.
So this was coincidentally my same choice as well. It's mainly the casting of this episode, apart from obviously the gritty stuff, because you've got Esai Morales, who was also, I think, in American Me, which came out a few years after this. But of course, David
and La Bamba.
Kelly. Yeah, La Bamba. David Patrick Kelly is like, the guy to play crazy guys. Warriors come out to play. Yeah, I mean, and then Jack Kehoe, of course, he was in The Sting, So he was also in, I think he was also in 12 Angry Men. I think he was the last cast member of the original 12 Angry Men.
Anytime I see Jack Kehoe, I always think of Young Guns 2 with Jack Kehoe.
Yeah,
I
mean,
I need to have a moment. Need to have a moment.
And then the fact that the episode is directed by Abel Ferreira is incredible. By the way, I sent Sandra Santiago the link for this stream, so
oh my
god,
it. That would be amazing. So that'd be amazing.
She may well watch it. But yeah, I think also
Sandra, we do.
The storyline.
What a terrific actress! Gosh,
the storyline with her. Beautiful woman. I remember that. When she's working the Vice undercover thing and it all goes a bit tits up, wow, she got to do some great acting in that whole story. So, I've got nothing else to add that Toxic hasn't said already, but great episode. Some really good acting in this episode. That's one of the reasons I really liked it.
Pretty cool to have King of New York director Abel Ferreira directing an episode of the show.
I'm going to have to do a stream on that.
Bad Lieutenant. Bad Lieutenant is Abel Ferreira's best film. God, that's hard to watch.
Debatable.
Bad Lieutenant.
King of New York is pretty amazing. It's in my top 20 favorite.
Oh yeah, if you want a really good nihilistic, King of New York was definitely one of the best ones up there. It really is. Very very young Lawrence Fishburne as well. It was just proper out of his mind in that one.
Can you get more nihilistic than Bad Lieutenant though? God.
Oh, yeah. Abel Ferrara is very nihilistic. He is from the only two movies I've seen from him, anyway. But I am a bit of a nihilistic bastard. I don't know why. I mean, I love a good positive movie as well that makes you feel good after. But there's something about the nihilistic, dark noir, gritty stuff that just, it just it does it for me. I don't know why. And Sandra Santiago, if she is watching, Sonny Crockett fucked up. He could have had there, but no, he went back to his wife only to fuck her off, and then he had something there. He did, man, in that first episode.
Yeah.
So I think we've already talked about. I think we've already done our number threes now, so we're straight on to number two. And number two is Smuggler's Blues. I'm sure a lot of you already have this on.
Oh, that's my number two.
It's my number one. It's my number one.
It's my number one. Yeah, it's my number one.
It's my number two.
Same.
We don't have to really rank it in order though, anyway. But it's just like favorite episodes. But it's usually I'm very skeptical whenever Sonny Crockett and Ricardo Tubbs have to go abroad into some like Colombian drug wasteland. But this is one of the few ones that I thought was actually fucking good.
No,
it kind of had a little bit of a sense of adventure as well. It was kind of like a little bit like they were going James Bond, but with drug dealers. And you had Glenn Fay as this sort of like burnt out guitarist, sort of like veteran pilot who's not really fond of violence, though, but I do love it. He says, "Get the drop on him now, otherwise it gets violent." And I don't like violence. And he's just proper out of his mind, and he's fun to watch. And most of the musician guest stars can be hit or miss on this show, though, but he really plays it up. And once again, we've got Sonny Crockett and Ricardo Tubbs just being cool fuckers as well on this adventure going across to Colombia. And then you got this really good ending where Trudy is hooked up to a bomb, and it's very suspenseful, and they have to be really careful not to detonate it. And it's every fucking scene is brilliant. And Smuggler's Blues is probably one of the most underrated fucking 80s songs ever. And I later found out that this episode was written around that song. And unlike most episodes, where sometimes it's a bit more low key and gritty, this one feels fucking big. And I think they use most of this, the elements on the remake, which I won't get into. Some people love it. I think it's. It didn't really do it for me, but that's my thoughts on Smuggler's Blues.
Are you talking about the movie?
Yeah, the movie from 2007.
I wasn't blown away by that film either. I have to say, I was very disappointed in it actually.
Yeah, because I mean, Miami Vice is a product of the 80s, and I don't think you can translate that into modern day. It's because it's a product of its time as well. That's what made it so great. Not only that, I don't think Colin Farrell and Fox had the same charisma as Johnson and Phillips. They just seemed a bit too serious and a bit too brooding for my liking.
They didn't really work as a pairing. I don't know why that was, but it just didn't sort of seem to click.
Yeah, because Johnson and Tubbs had these big personalities. They had this sort of like they both had this laid back charm, and I never got that with Farrell and Fox. I didn't. They just seemed to.
Farrell was woefully miscast. That was the early aughts, and I love Farrell, as we've discussed on many other
actors. They were just miscast. That's it.
Yeah, it's you got to have, if you're going to have a Crockett and Tubbs, you've got to have a kind of chemistry, and God bless him, but Farrell was really thrust into a lot of stuff that just didn't work for him. That I think that Jamie Foxx's Tubbs was very good. I thought that was great casting, and I thought he delivered on the role in a lot of ways. But I don't think that I can't. I don't think that was a good use of Colin Farrell in that film, for sure. So
I think it would have been better if they'd gone with a more of a character actor in the second role rather than two dashingly handsome guys for the movie, because by then that sort of two great leading man as two very handsome blokes as undercover cops doesn't really fly. You've got to be, do you know what I mean? You've got to fit in a bit better. If you look like a supermodel, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame. I mean, I would kind of co-sign on that, but I'd also kind of say that had they had somebody who has a little bit better comedic timing and can have that kind of laid back Southern Charm. This was before 2006 when that film, and I'm sorry, I don't want to derail, but 2006, the McConaughey stunts that they call it had not happened yet with True Detective and Mud, but I think Matthew McConaughey might have made a good Sonny Crockett.
Actually, yeah, he would have done. That would have been
Yeah.
interesting.
At least
He wouldn't have to fake the
Ferrell.
accent.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's hard to recreate that. It really is. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody that could have done that. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I also agree. Just so you can skip me on this one because I can't say anything more, and that's also my number 2 is Smuggler's Blues.
Yeah, and so yeah, and RT, your views on
Well,
Smuggler's Blues then?
Smuggler's Blues, my number 1. So I think we've covered all of mine. So my only different one was Evan, mine were No Exit, One Eye Jack, which talked about Heart of Darkness, which talked about Smuggler's Blues, my number 1. Mostly because it has a sense of adventure in it. Like it really does go big. Like it feels much more cinematic than most of the episodes. You got them going overseas. There's planes, there's bombs, there's guns, there's ticking clock. There's all the elements of a good thriller movie, and yeah, it had a real sense of action adventure in it. And for that, I liked it. There was a real sense of joy to that episode. Like that now it's episode 16, right? So now the show's sort of coming into its own. We realize, this is what we're about. Let's go for it. There's that real sense to that episode. Well, that's my impression anyway. So that's why I enjoyed this episode so much. And Glenn Fry was surprisingly good. I mean, Phil Collins, Phil Collins, better musician than actor, but Glenn Fry really stuck the role. He really did. He knew what he was doing, and he didn't try to go too crazy with it. And he's convincing, right? And I think this is one of the first episodes, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, where we find out a little bit about Crockett's time in Vietnam. Because there's some discussion about that because I can't remember when that first comes up, but it definitely comes up in this one. I
feel like Vietnam was mentioned in the pilot with
possibly, but this is the first time he talks about. He mentions it, but he doesn't talk about it. I mean, I don't know how Sonny Crockett had the time to play football and go to Vietnam and become a veteran police officer. There's some odd sort of timing there, but anyway.
Well, I mean, listen.
Anyway,
read my book, and you'll see all the stuff I've done in my life. So as far as that goes. But...
So yeah,
fair play.
Yeah. God, fucking rest in peace, man, Glenn Fay. I think he was a really underrated singer as well because he did return to do "You Belong in the City" for episode 1 in season 2, which is a really fucking good song. I mean, I want to listen to more of his stuff. I really do. Because I know you had a little bit of recognition with "The Heat Is On" for Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, but the fact that he had this song called "Smuggler's Blues" and Michael Mann loved it so much he wrote an episode based around the lyrics of that song, and they got him on it. They must have loved this guy as well to have him do another song for it later.
I didn't realize he did the Heat Is On.
Yeah.
Do you want me, Luke? Do you want me to talk about this now, mate? Because it's
do talk about it now because I think it's on your favourites now as well, isn't it?
I think it's my number 1, but rather than jump around, I'll cover it now.
We don't have to rank it as well. It's just I haven't ranked mine really, to be honest.
This is the episode that's directed by Paul Michael Glaser. So this is your other Starsky and Hutch guy, right? So that's, again, I think, and he went on to direct feature films. He did The Running Man, and he did not that long after this, a few years. So I think he wanted a cinematic episode because he wanted to go into feature films. And I think that's why the episode looks very cinematic. Stayed with me. It felt big. All the same things that RR TNZ said, basically. Also of interesting note on the cast, Richard Edson, who plays Wavy Davy, if you remember him in the episode, he is one of the 2 guys that takes out Ferris Bueller's buddy's car for the Star Wars Joyride in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah, he's one of those 2 guys.
I thought I recognised him.
Yeah, that's where you might know him from. I mean, he's a jobbing character actor. I'd love to interview him actually, because I'm sure he's had a very interesting career. 116 credits, and he's still working today. And he did Strange Days, which is another fantastic movie. So Richard Edson always popping up in these kind of roles.
And Strange
Yeah,
Days,
really,
he was the guy that his brain got melted or whatever?
I think so. Yeah, I haven't watched that in quite a while. Such a good movie. I need to do a stream on that.
Great
actually.
movie. Great movie. Catherine
And
Bigelow.
this is one of the highest rated episodes on IMDb of season 1 as well. It's very highly rated. But yeah, so there you go. I really like it.
Okay, so I think I'm on to one more now. And yeah, I'm going to sound a little bit pedestrian here, but I will. My last one is the very first pilot episode. And yeah, I know it's probably not the best written at the moment, but it was a good way of just it really hooks me in from the start, though. It's like, it does feel like a very good way to really get the characters started from the ground up. I mean, you've got Tubbs going on this mission for vengeance, and this is where he first meets Sonny Crockett, and they instantly have chemistry straight away when they start working with each other, even though they're still kind of a little bit what's the word anyway? A little bit funny around each other. They aren't exactly too friendly just yet, but once again, we're getting
still kind of sizing each other up.
Yeah,
aren't they?
no.
There's a lot of that. Get your tanks off my lawn. There's a lot of that going on.
I know. Not only that, we've got like conspiracies are inside the department as well. Like, you don't know what to trust. I mean, the original boss before Castillo is almost hinted that he might be corrupt, but then you find out that it's one of his old partners who was on the sting operation with him before, on the very first time he meets Tubbs, and you can really, and Crockett really fucking sells it when he's like, I trusted you. It's really, yeah, he fucking sells every scene, and it's a very good start to the episode, even though, and yet the good people, they don't always win. The villains seem to have more power over them sometimes, and you get to know the history a little bit about Crockett and his divorce, and Tubbs is basically just a very angry, bloodthirsty, rogue copper who's pretty much gone against his orders, and he's pretty much turned into a bit of a free agent at the moment. He's pretty much betrayed his old department for now, but it's like I said, it was still finding its footing, but this was a great fucking start, and I could still see this as a movie instead of a TV show, because you get the characters straight away, and you get the plot straight away, you get the tone straight away, and there's not much else I can say. It's a very good start to the series, and would only get a little bit better in series 2 and 3, and start to go down a bit in season 4 and go way down in season 5.
Can I caveat onto what you say a little bit on this?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah, I'd love to hear more views on this.
I agree. It can't quite crack my top 10, or excuse me, my top 5, only just due to the fact that I didn't want to be pedantic and pick the pilot, but also because it's a situation where I did rewatch it for the purposes of doing this. I thought we were doing this last week. It's got too many different things. Thank you, Mr. E. It's got too many things that just wouldn't happen. So it kind of pulls me, and you know me, I don't like to use technical experience to just disavow a movie or a TV show. I like to just try to enjoy it for what it is, but there's just way too much stuff that wouldn't go down. Conversely, though, as far as TV shows go, this did a really good trope of having these guys be very adversarial and almost enemies at the beginning. And then by the end of the episode, you've got Tubbs loading up the shotgun, willing to go on this thing, this mission with Crockett, this new partner. And, they have that great iconic scene with, In the Air Tonight, as they're heading, and he takes a break from the action just to call the ex-wife and assure himself that he actually did something besides, be this, operative through most of his life, and I think the chemistry between the two actors for their characters. I think it gets established in this episode, and it carries forth for the rest of the series. And so, yeah, for that, I do Brothers Keepers. Almost just pushed out of my top 5. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I can sort of see why, because it's always kind of a weird thing when you have like the pilot episodes as a favorite, because this is still the show trying to find its footing. I mean, the best episodes usually come after, but it did still feel more like a movie, because it was like a 2-parter as well. It wasn't like just 1 hour. But
yeah.
But yeah, has anyone else got any views on the this episode? If it's on their list, if not, then
Talking about the pilot.
Yeah, Brothers Keeper, the pilot. Yeah,
I think the pilot's fine, but I think it's one of the weaker pilots that I've seen compared to other cop shows of more recent times, shall we say?
Yeah, I'll agree with that to an extent. I think it's weak when you look at the show as a whole, but if you just base it off of pilots, I think it's very serviceable, and it's got some really iconic scenes in it. A lot of pilots have a lot of hard time. I mean, Luke and I did the original unaired pilot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer recently, and that was a total piece of dog. So I mean, and that's an iconic show, and that's not even judging it on cumulatively. That's just judging.
I've never seen it.
It's on YouTube and it's free. Also,
we
did do an episode. It's on my channel. I am not kind to it. I was very harsh to it. So
this is the first time we see Martin Ferrero, as well as this like sort of cross-dressing hitman, and he gets killed, but he would later come back as Izzy, who was like this kind of con man who's informant as well, who's always trying to sell something, but he's not really to be trusted, is he? He's he's always looking for an opportunity, and he's a very funny
before
character.
the T-Rex eats him.
Yeah, honestly, I always liked this character. I always liked his character a bit better than Nuggy. He seemed a little less over the top. Nuggy always seemed a bit too cartoonish, especially for a show that's so dark and gritty.
Discount John Cazale.
Yeah, in a way.
Did you see him in the episode of L.A. Law where he was being prosecuted for being a superhero vigilante?
Yes.
And suddenly he pulls his shirt open. He's got his costume. He presses a button and he inflates a dinosaur tail out the back of his trousers. It's kind of nuts.
Nice.
That's why I always remembered him as an actor because of that scene. Always remembered him because of that scene. Like, who is this guy? What a
He's one of those actors that just pops up in a lot as well. He's even in Heat as well. He's the guy that sells the timber to Val Kilmer at the beginning. He gets
great
around
character.
a lot.
I mean, he's a great character actor. I could quite happily watch a movie where he's the lead and see him do something really interesting.
Did you sell the timber? Is that what you just said?
I think he was selling him something, wasn't it, for the bank?
He's working in that yard. It's like a timber yard, but they're selling explosives there. And I think
that's the demolition stuff, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah. He sold him explosives.
Yeah, because it was under the pretense of construction work. Now it's coming back. Now it's coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is like a little Easter egg to Michael Mann as well, because. Yeah,
Michael Mann's he's like a lot of directors. He wants you'll see his usual suspects. He's like anybody else that you'll see that the same actors will pop up in different roles over and over again, and that's to be expected.
Yeah, no, it's his little small role in Get Shorty as well. He's kind of like the gangster who's just trying to play it safe and get on with his day when you got Chili Palmer fucking punching Dennis Farina in the fucking nose and causing him more trouble.
You don't even need a jacket. It's perfectly fine out. It's 80 degrees today.
Yeah, it's very funny in Planes, Trains and Automobiles, as well as when he's handing him the fucking fucking watch for a room and it's just not enough. No. And he's still going. He's still alive. Fucking hell.
He's another one, actually, I might try and get on for an interview.
Yeah.
1947, so he's in his mid to late 60s then. So. Yeah. I thought he was older, to be honest.
RT, in case, since you're new to this, you're the newbie, when we discuss a certain actor, be wary of saying any kind of negative connotation, because they may or may not be somebody that Lance will interview at some point. Now there's a small loophole to that. If you have big luscious boobs, like Vex Electronica, you can get away with saying whatever you want about whoever you
Well,
want.
that's me out then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't let Vex get away with anything.
You did? Okay.
To be honest, though, any comparison with John Cazale is a compliment.
Facts. Yeah, facts.
Like John Cazale, he was a brilliant actor whose life was cut short.
Yeah,
So that guy's great, Martin Serrano. But yeah, John Cazale was he was an actor of such power and potential, but cut tragically short.
Yeah. Would love to have seen him in Heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh.
I would love to have seen him in anything after his, after the years after he died. It's because he only had like a few films though, but man, he really did leave a legacy in that short amount of time he was alive, and it's very sad.
Yeah. You broke my heart, Fredo. You broke my heart.
Yeah, fucking Sunny and Dog Day Afternoon. I got to do something on that one day. That is a good film. That is a fucking brilliant film.
Yeah, do the Godfather trilogy would be good for sure.
Yeah, so I think Toxic. You've already mentioned. Was it your last one? Is it?
Well, I said I co-signed on with you for my number 2, so just go ahead and skip it. But if you want me to give you my number 1,
yeah, give me number 1, and then we can go down to RT and then Lance, and then.
Yeah,
I'm all out. So go ahead, Wes. I'm all out.
Yeah,
So
I was hesitant to do this tonight because I didn't have a chance to talk to Luke before the stream. But since you already said that a 2-parter would be okay, Golden Triangle Part 1 and Part 2 is
one.
Yeah, it's the same storyline. So yeah, 2-part does count as
okay.
Joan Chen.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Facts, Joan Chen. And yeah, this is we get to find out more about Castillo. If I guess it's no shocker, Castillo is my favorite character on the TV show Miami Vice. Edward James Olmos is one of my favorite actors, and I feel like
because you look so much alike.
Yes, we do, and we're twins almost. But
I see it now. I see it.
All the backstory of I don't always need or require a backstory. I don't need to know the childhood exploits of a teenage Anton Chigurh, but every now and then when it's done with when you have a protagonist and you have somebody like who Castillo's character was already pretty mysterious, and then the CIA backstory comes up. He's worked for different agencies on loan to the DEA from the CIA, and he worked in Southeast Asia, and we get to see some cool martial arts stuff with him in this episode, and it's just man, it's really good. And there's other episodes that follow after this that do similar stuff, but they're not in season 1, so I'll not mention them now. But this is where we get it's a Castillo heavy part 1 and part 2, and it's definitely something that I like. I've used a lot of the storyline with him and a lot of the things in which they slowly unravel with him. I use that same technique in a lot of my writing. And I find it to be very effective to just give these little morsels of information out, a bit at a time, and it's not, and they did a good job of show not tell with this one. So yeah, and I think I'd be hard pressed for season 1 to find a better episode, and I'm glad Luke kind of loosened the reins a little bit and allowed us to talk about 2-parters and whatnot. But if you and I'm sorry, I've got to sign in my officers here pretty soon because we're going to be wrapping up. So if I may, I'm going to go ahead and have to jump off here. I just wanted to get my
understandable,
number 1.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
thanks for joining us as well, especially getting this out of the way as well in there just in time. Thanks for joining us. I really am. And Slapdash is now on Amazon. Do buy it. I've done a bit of proofreading on the book. It's very.
You did
good.
a lot of. Listen. I am not screwing around with that girl that proofread for me before. You have the job next time. I'll happily give you the $600 instead of her because she completely dropped the ball on it. So you did so much more work as a friend, and I really appreciate everything that you did. And so when the next one is ready, which it will be here in about a month or so, I'll definitely go to you to get you to proofread it for me and happily pay you that money. So
Yeah, send me as soon as you can, man. I look forward to reading it as well. Plus, I do want to see what happens to
Jimmy?
Spoilers! My copy's in the mail. No spoilers, please.
All right, fair enough. Well, thank you for buying a copy, RT, and Lance. As soon as your book is available, I'll be getting a copy and I'll be doing a review on it if that's okay, and showing some pictures and of me holding the book and put it on my show. And I look forward to reading that because it sounds super great. And thank you guys for having me on and talking about this great show and my book and everything else. You guys have a good one. Take it easy. Be safe.
Yeah, take care, man.
Take care, mate.
Wait. Is Toxic going?
12 hour.
Yeah, he's got his job to do.
I haven't been. Oh, okay. Sorry. Bye. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Is it a good job that takes a hard man, or a hard man that do a good job? It's one of those jobs. It involves being hard or good or both or something like that.
I think I know what beckons his leave.
So yeah, there's a nice bit of trivia on this Golden Triangle as well, because the episode, I think part 1 is where the DVD got an 18 certificate because of a scene where Castillo claps a guys in the ears, and just for that, not the fucking drugs, the prostitutes, the violence.
Oh, that's to do with the happy slapping thing that was going on at that time. Do you remember with the Tango advert and stuff that got banned?
Yeah, well, that was in the 90s, though. I mean, some big orange guy comes over, slaps someone.
The first time that happened was when I was still at school, man. That happened when I was still at school, so that was in the 80s. There may have been a recurrence of it or something, but yeah, there was a couple of things that got banned because of this happy slapping craze that was happening around 84, 85, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it was the same used for Asbos in the 2000s as well. I remember it still being used when I was in fucking school. So I think I've already gone through all my episodes now. Has everyone's still got one more left?
I've got my number 2 choice because my number 1 was Smugglers.
Well, hang on a moment. Before you move on from Golden Triangle, I think we need to acknowledge some of the guest stars in that two-parter. So Joan Chen being one of them, who was massive at this time. I think she'd just done Year of the Dragon with Mickey Rourke. And Key Luke, who provided voiceovers for almost every animated cartoon that come out of Japan or anywhere else and was dubbed into English.
Ah, man. Yeah, well,
she was
it's chock full of guest stars on the show.
Episode, you know.
Sorry?
Joanne Chen. She was in a previous she was in a previous episode of Miami Vice as an extra, and that's how she got the part in this episode.
Yeah, there is tons of recurring actors. We've had John Leguizamo play different characters. He's played Caldero's son, but he's also played another guy in season 5. It's even the woman who played Switek's girlfriend in the one about Zito and Switek as the main characters. I mean, she appeared in season 5 as well, with the one with Michael Chiklis, I might add.
Well, back when he had hair.
Yeah, and he's playing like this very foppish art dealer, which always cracks me up just something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because Joanne Chen played a waitress, uncredited role in one of the previous episodes, just like a background extra. So, and obviously she got noticed by Mann. I mean, I would have noticed her. And
who wouldn't?
And she's an awesome actress. I think she's fantastic. So that's how she got cast into this. So this was, I think, one of her first
she looks like now.
Major
roles. She looks like now. She still looks good. She
looks incredible.
Gosh, she must be on like mid to late 60s.
I think she's in her early 60s. But yeah, she's always looked fantastic. I keep meaning to watch that Marco Polo TV series that she did in the mid 2010s, but I've never got around to seeing it. But yeah, around this time she did Knight Rider and Matt Houston, so she was just starting to break through in those sort of little TV roles, and this two-parter was probably her first bigger acting role.
When's Year of the Dragon? I always thought it was 84, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think it was 85.
No, it was mid 80s. I think it might have been 86. Yeah. I think it's 86. I'm just looking for that. Was she in that?
Yeah, with Mickey Rourke. She was like the female.
I know the film. It's the director of Heaven's Gate, isn't it? Michael Cimino. That did.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Year of the Dragon. I'm sure she's in it. Joan Chen.
I don't see it on her IMDb.
Yeah. Was she uncredited? I'm not.
Sometimes IMDb has loads of credits missing. I'll just have a quick look in Year of the Dragon and see. Unless we're getting.
Maybe it was under a different title, but it was Mickey Rourke about Chinese mafia and Nuke. Yeah,
I know.
You know the film.
I was working at the cinema when it was on. So yeah. Okay. So it came out in 85. She is not listed in the credits. You're not thinking of Tracy Zhu, who played Ariane in that?
Maybe I am. That will be me.
Pretty similar. They've got a similar.
I always thought it was Joan Chen. Well, I could be wrong.
I'm just double checking the credits, but I can't see her in here. No, so definitely not one of the leads. So I know the role that you mean in the movie. I haven't seen the movie in quite a while, but I think you're
same.
talking about the character of Ariane, which is Tracy Zhu.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, is Tracy Zhu. That's my fault.
I mean, she's got a.
I always thought it was Joan Chen. For some reason, I've always thought that. You have put me right, having been wrong for decades.
Mate, easy mistake to make. Yeah, Ariane was great in that part. It's good movie actually. I thought that film was
really tall too. Very tall. Ariane Koizumi, very tall.
I haven't
5'11".
Yeah, I have to watch it again. I saw it on TV once, but it's been a while. And yeah, this was back when Mickey Rourke was like this big fucking star in the 80s. I mean, you could.
Oh yeah, he's massive.
Yeah.
Northern, there's a picture of Ariane if you want to show it quickly from Year of the Dragon.
Before his return to boxing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was a short career, wasn't it? Do you want me to do
very misconceived, very misconceived Mickey Rourke's boxing career?
Northern, do you want me to do the one that I missed?
Which one? Yeah, the one that you missed. Yeah.
We all want you to do that, Lance. We all want you to.
Got one more left, though. Have you still got one
no,
more?
I don't. I do not. I am out.
Yes, so it is Lance.
You have covered all of mine.
I talked about my number 1 episode instead of my number 2 episode because we thought we should all talk about that at the same time. But I haven't said what my number 2 episode was.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
Wait, Lance, are you saying you mixed up your number 1s and your number 2s? That doesn't sound right.
Toilet humor. Look, Sandra might be watching this, so let's keep it clean. My number 2 pick from season 1 was episode 17, The Maze. Which has Ving Rhames in it. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, it is.
Does it?
He's very, very young, like really skinny.
If you remember it, it's the Siege episode. It's where they've got a siege.
There he is.
And
right
there. You've got the SWAT team wanting to go in, and
he doesn't look like a bitch there either.
There's a lot of well-worn tropes in it, but more importantly in that episode is Garcelle Beauvoir, and she also was in an earlier episode as an extra, like Joan Chen. And I think basically, again, she probably got spotted. This is one of her first big breaks. She's an absolutely stunning actress and also very capable. So this is one of her first TV roles. I'll get you a shot of her up, Northern, so you can see who I'm talking about. There you go. So she's in this same episode. Great actress. Yeah, I like. I'm a massive fan of Dog Day Afternoon. Probably one of Al Pacino's best films. Definitely John Caviezel's best performance, in my opinion. I think he's even better than in The Godfather in that.
But it's a bigger role, I suppose, for John Cazale, eh?
He plays a more complex character in Dog Day Afternoon, and he does so much with so little dialogue. It's an acting masterclass. And And I remember
Yeah,
watching
it always upsets me though when he says he doesn't smoke because he wants his body to be healthy and be cancer free, and then turns out the actor really did die of cancer of the bone.
did.
Yeah,
It's tragic.
Yeah, no, it's very, very sad, but really good episode. Again, it's got that sort of Dog Day Afternoon mentality. You've got the rivalry between the SWAT team and your regular characters. Got some quite nice tension. It's got a pretty good action ending. So yeah, it's also got hang on a minute, I'm on the wrong one now. Let me get my notes back. Yeah, it's episode 17. Not rites of passage. There we go.
Yeah, I always like it when Tubbs puts on the Jamaican accent. I always thought he was better at being undercover because he always seemed to change his clothes a bit more than Sonny Crockett did. Crockett would still wear the same pastel suit and had still be himself, but Tubbs, he would really get into his character. He'd really get into his sleazy sort of like Dominican, Jamaican kind of like sleazy drug dealer kind of undercover, character just to sort of
Come here.
those,
Come here, little girl. I show you a good time. Irie, man.
I don't do bad deals. What do you think I am?
I'll
Rasta Magman? Yeah.
I'll tell you who else is in this episode. You've got Joe Morton. So Joe Morton is the guy in Terminator 2 who
built Skynet.
Yeah, he's the one that's going to start Skynet. He's salvaging the parts of the.
Oh, Miles Dyson.
There you go. This guy.
Where is he? There he is. Yeah, there he is. Oh, I can't believe I forgot he was
really young. Oh, you've got him anyway. So, yeah, in the episode, he's a great actor, very underrated in my opinion. I was a bit. It was a bit of a shame after Terminator because the whole scene where he's dying in Terminator 2, he totally sells that scene. Totally sells it. And
yeah, his last breath,
I'm not sure how long I can hold this up.
I know.
And he's got
he's
that
gasping
lovely
for breath.
family, and you really feel for him, and and he makes that sacrifice. And I thought, wow, after that, we're going to see this guy doing some really major roles. I mean, he's a very experienced stage actor, so he's done a lot of theatre. 139 acting credits still going. He's never been out of work really, so he's probably done loads of stuff that I haven't even seen. But yeah, he's in this episode as well. So you got good sort of guest cast. Yeah, I mean, Northern, you've watched them all recently. It's got some nice action, which as a kid, was always an appeal for me.
Yeah,
so that was my number two.
Yeah, even the criminals sort of taking over the place still have a bit of personality in their own little conflictions. Some of them are a little bit they're kind of afraid now that one of them's starting to go off the edge, and they kind of may have screwed things up for themselves. They've got themselves in a stupid situation, and they have no idea how to get out of it without getting gunned down or being arrested.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my number two. Number one was the same one we've already talked about. So there you go. There's my five.
Yeah, and we're done already. This has been a quick stream. Jesus Christ, my streams are ending way too quickly.
So if you were scoring these on points, which would be that the number one pick would get 5, for example, the number 5 pick would score 1. Mm-hmm. I think I worked it out that your number one film would actually be the one that I picked for number 1, and so did one other person, I think, and I think 2 other people had it in their list. So I think points-wise, I think that scored the most, Smuggler's Blues.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's in everybody's list.
Yeah, so it would have scored the most points. So that's the number 1 episode for season 1. There you go.
Well, it's a I love to use this word in a sentence. Quintessential. It's a quintessential Miami Vice episode because if you never watch a show and it's like you want to watch one episode and find out what Miami Vice is about, watch that one. Right?
Yeah.
It explains everything. You walk away. Now I understand. Right. That's my take on Smuggler's Blues.
That's good.
Ready a parachute? Why? Because we're about to leave the ground. God, there's some great quotes. There is. There's some great quotes. I think it is one of those episodes where it's not too dark. There is some dark moments, obviously, with Trudy being hooked to a
bomb.
Yeah, but it is very intense, but it's still fun as well. It's still a very fun episode, and
it's adventure, right?
Yeah.
It's adventure.
I know. It's probably the only one of the only few times one of the only few times I don't mind Sonny and Crockett being out of Miami Hunt. You know, it's I don't know how, because every time they've gone into another country in the other episodes, I thought I kind of want them back in Miami hunting drug dealers locally. But this is the exception, and it is definitely one of the best episodes in the series. But yeah, I'm very sad that we've got through these pretty quickly.
No, it's efficiency.
So yeah, I said top
It's
5
efficiency.
got more people on, but yeah, we've still got a pretty decent amount of people, and I'm very glad that you all made it. I tried to get Inside Man, but I think because he saw many were already on it, I think he wants to leave it for now. And yeah, Inside Man, if you're watching, just put it in the comments after if you can, or jump on the chat. But since we've still got a bit of time,
yeah, the reason it went so quickly, Luke, is that there was so much agreement on the best episodes, right? That it was very, very clear. There was a lot of crossover between our lists. I mean, I don't know if any of you, I don't think the rest of you had Evan on your list, but other than that,
I think I probably would have had that on my list if I'd rewatched everything again. Rewatched
probably if I did a top 10 instead of top 5, it would be on there.
Yeah. But the rest of mine, the other 4 of mine, were on everyone else's list, right? So that's efficiency. You know, that's us looking at, you know, the quantity. Sorry, not the quantity. The quality of these episodes, and making a judgment and going, well, these are the best, right? I mean, they're probably, if you'd done a top 10, we probably would have had a little more variation. But you know, there's 5 brilliant episodes that season, and a lot of good ones. Can I ask a question quickly? We're talking about cop shows and pilots and whatnot. And there's a show that has sort of vanished from the sort of public consciousness on YouTube anyway. I don't hear much about it anymore, but it started in 2010. It was a reboot of an old show from the 60s, Hawaii Five-0, right?
Oh yeah.
To me, the pilot of that show was Scott Kahn. And Alec. Lost his name now. The Australian
guy.
Yeah, the Australian guy. God, what was his name? But and Grace Park and Daniel Day Kim. My wife and I used to watch that show religiously until season 7 when Grace Park and Daniel Day Kim left over a pay dispute, which is a bit sad. But we love that show. Saw the pilot on an airplane actually on the way back from Las Vegas in 2010, and gosh, we were hooked, you know. And I know that did a lot for the tourism in Hawaii at the time, and I'm always wondering if other people had the same reaction to the show, because that was a show that had just tremendous action scenes, but really likable characters as well. A bit preposterous at times, but it was a really enjoyable action crime drama.
Talking about the reboot.
I am talking about. I mean, I like the original too, but I'm talking about the reboot.
Yeah,
the 2010 reboot.
The original was.
I never watched it. I have watched the original.
I remember watching.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't watched the reboot, watch the pilot. If you like the pilot, you will like the show. Because I think the pilot.
I've watched the first 2 seasons of the reboot. I've seen it.
Why'd you stop? Out of interest?
Oh, just time. You know, there's so much stuff out there.
Fair enough. Fair play.
You've got to pick, and I just I saw the first 2 seasons, and then I think me and my then missus just decided to watch something else. You know.
Yeah, it's time. So on that note, I'm arguing the pilot of Hawaii Five-0 2010 really, really strong, but the other show which came out about the same time, maybe a year afterwards, very, very strong pilot. Only lasted 5 seasons, but had started really strong, was Person of Interest. Did that make it to the UK? Person of Interest?
Yeah. My wife
I saw that.
Lots of times. I have not had a chance to actually sit down and properly watch it. Is it the one with Jim Caviezel?
Jim Caviezel and Michael Emerson, Michael Emerson was famous for Lost, and Jim Caviezel famous for being Jesus.
Yeah,
my wife used to watch it religiously, but I didn't get a chance because I was still working a bit more back then. So
yeah, if you could stop after season 3, it sort of peaks in season 3. But Person of Interest, a pilot, I would rewatch the pilot from time. I mean, just the pilot, because it was such a strong concept, so well executed, and just the pilot hits the ground running so well. You're like, I know what the show is about. I know where it's going. You know, I know what's going to happen. I like the characters. So those to me are some of the strongest pilots. and it's not really a cop show, I suppose, because I don't like police procedurals that much. I struggle with them, but yeah. So just in terms of strong pilots, like this show had a strong pilot. We've talked about that, but those are some more contemporary examples, and I would struggle to think of another show that had a pilot as strong. The streaming changes things. The Brother's Son maybe was the last really strong pilot I saw.
Yeah, watched that earlier this year. That was a pretty decent show. And,
and Netflix did not renew it. What a shame. That was a great show,
so sad
Brother's
that.
Son.
I mean, we had Michelle Yeoh on there as well. I mean, she's like one of the most
Yeah.
likable Asian actresses out there. Why? Why not?
Yeah, it's brilliant. There's an actor for you to get. Well, Lance, if you can't get Scott Adkins on, see if you can get Andrew Koji to be on your channel.
I can try.
Oh, I'll be up for that. I'll be up for that.
See what happens.
Well, British actors, right? British actors, so.
Yeah, I mean, the British actors are harder to get than the Americans, funnily enough. And I can tell you why that is. It's
we're very snobby this way. Yup.
Yeah, that is it. One of them actually that I asked recently, they're not particularly. I've known them for a very long time. They're not like big leagues or anything like that. And I've gone and supported their work. I've plugged them when they've been in a show and stuff like this. And I said, my podcast, blah, 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 about it. Love you to come on. Be great. I don't think I'd have anything interesting to say. I said, of course you do. You've been an actor full time since I've ever met you, like 1997. And they used to have a significant role in a daytime television show. I don't want to say what it was. And
no, fair play.
And they just said, no, I'm going to have to decline. And do you know what? I thought, you know what? Where the mutual support thing is concerned, you and me are finished. And I took them off my phone.
Well, that's a bit sad.
Well, I
that's
just
a
thought.
Bit sad.
I just thought actually because they came to see my last play, and every time they go to the theatre, they always did a post about it, recommended the play to people and stuff. When they came to see my last show, they said nothing. And I don't know if that's because they thought it was crap or whatever, but I thought, you still could have posted about the topic or something. And I just thought this person is not supporting me in any way whatsoever. Why am I still friends with this person? Why am I supporting them? So I just thought
people are strange though. You never know what's going.
I like to support people. That's what I do. But
yeah,
it's a symbiotic thing. And if you think someone's taking but never giving it back to you, you've got limited time in the day. You've got to put your hours where you think people deserve it.
Yeah. Gosh, it's a bit of a downer.
Well, it's just the way it is. To quote a famous producer, if you can't harness your inner see you next Tuesday, you're not going to survive in this industry. So there you go. So I've learned to do that now. And
it's pretty fucking like you said, it's a very harsh business though, show business. I mean,
it is.
You've told me about your troubles with it as well, with films that you've tried to get off the ground, and
I've probably had about 10 or 15 projects that were going to get the green light, and then for whatever reason,
I've just put this image up for PB. Is this the one you're after? Is this the one you're after, PB?
Ferrari Testarossa.
Yeah.
Death of the Lady, fourth season.
Death of the Lady, season 4.
That was a dark episode, that, with a snuff video. Kelly Lynch.
Yeah,
and we do get a little bit of we get a really obvious continuity error as well, where Crockett's driving in the car, and it's a shot from the third series when his hair was a bit more crop short, and he's wearing darker colours.
Sometimes I quite like continuity errors, just because we live in a world where so much of film is made digitally, and there's a degree of artificial perfection that you find in film now, right? In the past, continuity errors happened because it was all done by real people with real people using real cameras, right? There was a shot. Someone. I don't know if it was you, Lance. If it was, I apologize. Someone was complaining about the shot in Predator last week on a stream. You know, when Arnold goes over the waterfall and the quality of the film used to film him falling is different than the quality of film for the rest of the film. And it's sort of,
that wasn't me. I didn't complain about that.
no, I don't
haven't
think
done
it
that.
was.
I've not even
I
done
don't think it
credit.
was because you don't tend to nitpick. And I thought I can't remember whose stream it was on. It doesn't matter. I won't say anyway if I do remember. But I thought, gosh, that's such a nitpick for 1987. I mean, there's a bunch of continuity errors in RoboCop, which I rewatched really recently, but it's still a brilliant film, right? And to me, continuity errors like that, there's a little bit of charm to them. You know, it's like, this was a film that was crafted by human hands. People made this, not machines. And I worry that in the age of AI created film and media, that will be lost. And maybe one day someone will write an algorithm or a program to put in continuity errors to make AI generated content seem more human.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing that as well with 4K. They're just sort of like putting this like AI filter over it to make it look more newer and crisper, but it just makes them look more like these lifeless puppets.
Is that Giancarlo Esposito?
Yeah, he was very young there. He's very young.
Gosh,
he's been on it twice. Yeah, he's played two characters. He's in the intro as well, where he's selling cocaine to Gina and Jody.
For a change of pace, he's playing a Latino drug dealer. What a surprise!
Yeah. Yeah, he's not as stoic in this one. He's a little bit more like, hey, I got the stuff you need. I'm Flash. I'm Fly. Wow. He's much more energetic compared to his much more quiet self in the later years. But he's been lost. He was in like trading places as well as one of the. He's one of the jail. He's one of Eddie Murphy's jailmates at the beginning. It's kind of crazy as well after watching him in Breaking Bad, then noticing him for the first time in Trading Places so bloody young. But it's kind of the case with this as well. You're seeing all these actors as well really young. You see Ben Stiller in there as well, and he's almost unrecognizable.
There's my favorite Giancarlo Esposito drug dealer episode or film has to be a film called Fresh from the 1990s about a kid who's lives in the projects in New York, goes to a very poor school, all his mates become drug dealers. He becomes a drug runner for various syndicates, but he's also a chess prodigy. And he plays these games with this homeless guy played by Sam Jackson, who may or may not have been his father. And he's trying to get his sister out from the influence of a heroin dealer who's played by Giancarlo Esposito. So he plays all the other characters in the film. He sets up as if they were chess pieces and pits them against each other. It's brilliant film. Stuart Copeland of The Police did the score. Sorry, it's really worth your while watching if ever you get a chance.
Yeah, what's it called? Fresh.
Fresh, yeah. Worth your time. It's not long. It's only about an hour and a half long, but it's worth your time.
I'll check it out. I mean, yeah, this has pretty much launched the careers of a lot of actors. I mean, we had a very young John Turturro, and I think he already had something. Martin Scorsese movie on his resume already, The Colour of Money, because I know he was in that, and he was very young in that.
Oh no, sorry, I was thinking of a different color. I was thinking of The Color Purple for some strange reason. Color of Money, Color of Money, very different thing.
Yeah,
that's a good movie. That's a good movie. Color of Money, what a great film.
Yeah, The Hustler. Yeah, it's a very good sequel to a very good classic as well with Paul Newman presence.
Paul Newman, gosh, they don't make him like that anymore.
Oh, Pam Grier as well. There. Oh, look at
that. Does that hold the record as being the biggest gap between a film that got a sequel in terms of years? I think it must be.
How long would it be? You think Top Gun Maverick would have that sequel? The record, 35 years.
Then we had
23. Yeah, maybe.
We also had Psycho 2 as well, which was like over 20, maybe 25 years after the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a funny thing, isn't it? That it must be so hit and miss to make when you have one film that strikes a cultural touchstone, to release a sequel at the right time so you don't miss that touchstone, so that's not lost, but also you don't you don't sort of overdo what you've done before. You don't create sort of a stale copy. Lucas did it brilliantly with the original Star Wars trilogy, 3 years apart. You know, it did an amazing job of both building hype, but also, you know, giving those movies time to breathe.
Yeah, but because it also had a lot of layers as well. It wasn't just showing the good side and the dark side was like black and white. There was a grey as well, and that Luke Skywalker could have the potential to go to the dark side, and that and we later found out that maybe Darth Vader was a good guy in the past. It really fucking changed your outlook on the concept of good and bad, because and that's what a good sequel should do sometimes. Just really challenge your viewpoints a little bit, but do it in a very smart way and preachy.
You will find that very many of the truths we cling to depend very much on our point of view.
Yeah, I love how he uses that as a low call for saying, "Yeah, bullshit as usually does." Yeah. God, have you seen that? Yeah, have you seen that clip where he talks about Ahsoka and she was like the biggest, the best jailbait they ever had, and him and Anakin used to double team her. It's got to be one of it's one of the funniest fucking clips ever. If I can get it.
What happened there? So sorry, the stream took a very strange turn there. I don't think I'm watching the same Star Wars films as you, Luke. I think you're downloading them from somewhere else.
Well, let me get it up. Ben Kenobi on Ahsoka. Let's have a look. It's a very.
I'm not so sure you should put that on your channel. I think you might find you get demonetized very quickly. Especially the word you use that starts with J. Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
no wonder Miami Vice couldn't be shown in Wales.
Yeah,
we're just too conservative, we are.
Yeah,
us poor country folk.
They've basically just manipulated the audio, but let's see if we can get it on. Let's get the share screen on.
I'm almost afraid of this. Goodness gracious.
Oh, it's fucking hilarious. Let's see if we can get it up. Did they ever tell you about Ahsoka? Can you hear it?
Did I ever tell you about Ahsoka Tano? She was your father's exotic teenage alien apprentice. Fine.
What's this?
More civilized age. She had the tightest body and the perkiest little breasts in the galaxy. Barely legal in those systems. Anakin and I used to double team her at the end of every successful campaign during the Clone Wars. And once in a while, we'd even have the entire 501st run a train over her. Part of official Jedi training, of course. In time, she'd learn how to handle a meat saber better than anyone in the Jedi Temple. She wore a miniskirt every day.
This is a bit naughty.
No panties and
Oh, goodness gracious. You're not going to get this stream monetized.
You'd get a glimpse of her orange pussy mid-fight as she'd do a flip while slicing a B-2 super battle droid in half.
Who is this doing this voice?
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's genius, though.
We taught her how to grip her weapon.
Put him in the new Star Wars movies. Fucking hell.
She constantly got captured by pirates and slavers almost every other day. It was ridiculous. Like a constant porno, Luke. You have no idea. And she was a good friend.
I don't like what you're doing to my childhood memories. Please stop.
Let's pause this anyway. It's yeah. The look on Skywalker's face when he's saying it as well just makes it funnier. It does. And yet, PB, I'm happy because the image I put up of Don Johnson crying in Milk Run is his first on Internet Movie Database in his image bank after his main casting photo to show his talent. Yeah, because often people focused on his looks. I wanted people to see more of his emotional intensity. And yeah, because I think he was already in I think Toxic mentioned this, he was already in 4 failed pilots and he almost didn't get the role. But he had done some independent movies as well. I think he did Electric Cowboys as well. And the very
Boy and His Dog.
A Boy and His Dog.
A Boy and His Dog.
Film.
It's a dark film.
Yeah, and he is not a good guy in that movie. He is an absolute arsehole. He's out to rape women, and he has no emotional concept of how bad that is either, because of how shit the environment has become, how bad the world has ended. Everything's just gone out the window, but he's still kind of with him a little bit.
Goodness gracious. Stream took a very dark turn. And what's bizarre is it took a very toxic turn after Wes left, because that's really surprising.
He rubs off on you, doesn't he? But Sandra Son, I think I might have put Sandra Santiago off. I do apologise. We love you. We love you, Sandra.
Last time he rubbed off on me, it took me ages to clean. I have to say.
Yeah, we feel so dirty, don't we? Feel so dirty. But yeah, back to Miami Vice, and yeah, we've already done the episode, so I think we're in fair enough time to talk about like maybe some other favourite moments. It doesn't have to be from our favourite episodes, but it can be from any and favourite guest
Well,
stars.
let me jump in. Let me
Yeah.
jump in.
Yeah.
Is it
Jump
season 2 or 3 where Zito is murdered?
Season 3,
It's the boxing episode, right?
Yeah,
Where he
it
goes
is, yeah.
undercover as a boxing trainer because he's boxed in the past. But there's a boxing trainer. He's training this young guy, and he's murdered by I can't remember the guys who they're running the boxing gym behind the scenes as a front for gambling and drugs and whatnot. But how Zito is murdered is that he's given an overdose. Like, so they find him with a needle in his arm, but he dies off screen. And Switek finds his body sitting in a chair with the needle in his arm, and loses the plot. So that's a really powerful moment, and it's one of the few deaths done off screen that actually really works and hits really hard. I remember that. I saw that as a kid, as a teenager, and thinking, "Whoa, that's awful. That's really hard."
Do we know the truth behind that? Normally, when they kill an actor off screen, it's because they had to leave the show for whatever reason.
Yeah,
and they
I
came
think
back to
he
film
wants to
that
expand
scene.
into more theatre work at the time.
Right. Well,
The
I mean,
other
if
one
you've
that-
been on it for 3 seasons, then yeah, it's fair
Yeah.
enough, isn't it?
Well, the other one that PB and some folks have mentioned is the episode where the buses don't go there. I think it's called. Do you remember the exact name? Yeah,
I do agree with you. It's like,
but Bruce McGill as Hank Weldon.
yeah, because he's kind of hilarious, but at the same time, you feel sorry for him as well. You don't know if he's a danger to anyone, but at the same time, he still manages to come across as a very competent cop, despite his very zany manner. He's very over the top. At the same time, he's still subtle enough to make you still care for him and feel bad for him as well.
Yeah, well, Crockett definitely does. Like Crockett understands at the end. So that's actually one episode I wouldn't want to spoil for anyone. That's
know,
one that
it's
if
so
you
good.
haven't
It's
seen
so
it,
good.
watch it, and if you don't know the ending, just watch it through. Don't let anyone spoil it for you because it's got a powerful ending. And
That's my
Bruce
favourite moment. It is.
Bruce McGill.
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, Bruce McGill must be on your list. I would think, Lance, because you have a list sort of great character actors. Bruce McGill, I would think, would be on there somewhere.
Bruce McGill is an absolutely outstanding actor. If you haven't seen him in the 1980, no, it might have been 1991 film, Long Time Companion, which is one of 4. It gets a mention in my book. It's not one of the entries, but it definitely gets a mention under "And the Band Played On." It's one of the 4 good films that have covered the outbreak of the HIV epidemic in the 80s. And him and another actor, they play like a couple who've been monogamous for decades or whatever, and they still both get struck down by it. And McGill is just fucking phenomenal in that film. And that's the first film I saw him in, actually, and I was like, who is this guy? But he's good in everything he does.
Yeah, he elevates everything.
Yeah.
Animal House.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
God, I haven't watched that in a long time. Is he in Animal House? I can't even remember.
Yeah, God.
He's D-Day.
Last time I saw
D-Day
that was the
is played by Bruce McGill. I mean, the other great character actor that I think of, and I don't know, does he make an appearance in Miami Vice? The other great character actor of the 90s and 80s, and even today, though he's quite old now, will be Stephen Root. He's like probably my all-time favorite character actor.
From Office Space, he's a brilliant actor.
Well, he's from everything, Stephen Root.
Yeah, he's done Star Trek. He's
Justified. Yeah, he was a Klingon captain in one of the best in the episode that has Spock in it. Yeah, no, he's brilliant, Stephen Root. He was in Ghost. He just fantastic character. And he's different and everything. Terrific actor. News radio
as well. He's a very versatile actor. He's obviously Dodgeball as well. He's very fucking funny.
Yes.
In that movie.
Yeah.
He's even in the book of the
Are you angry now?
No. Yeah. He's in the book
Hell
of the
for Love
movie as well. He's in that, and I think he's in Crocodile Dundee too as well. He's the guy who has the machete to his balls when he's taking.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had not remembered him from that specific role, but
I know I watched it
I
a while
don't know
ago,
if
but
he's
I wasn't
young
sure
man
it was
guy.
him
Let
though,
me look.
because he looks very, very young. But yeah, damn. But yeah, he's very
Funnily
funny
enough,
and office based. Yeah.
funnily enough, RRTNZ, I was going to actually do a stream on great character actors because I've done a blog on character actors on my book website. So maybe, man, you should come on that when I do that one.
Oh, I'd love to if I can. If we could work out a time difference, I would love to. But I think it would
Probably
be
be on
I think it'd be a series of streams, to be honest, Lance.
Yeah,
because
well,
there
I'll
are so many
I'll
so
do it
many men
by
and women who are
nationality. I'll do an American one and then I'll do a British one, probably like that.
Yeah.
I think. But probably on a Sunday, probably be a Sunday evening. So you might be able to do it if you get up early or late.
your Sunday evening is my Monday morning, so unless it'd be I get up quite early on a Monday though. We'll work something out.
Maybe a Friday after Northern. Maybe that will work.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I'd love to.
We'll figure
Because
it
a good character actor elevates the material, right? And those small walk-on roles, like Christopher Nolan has sort of famous for using very big actors in very small roles.
Yeah.
Like Oppenheimer. I mean, Gary Oldman is in what Oppenheimer? I think he's uncredited for like a minute, maybe as Truman. Fantastic, you know.
Yeah. Gary Oldman is always good value. I mean, he's. I think that guy can play anything. I mean, he can play he used to be very good at playing the very young, kind of punkish guys, like the skinhead in Meantime and the
Sid Vicious.
Yeah,
in Sid and Nancy.
Sid Vicious and the repulsive pimp in True Romance. But he could be Commissioner Gordon in Batman. He's much more humble and he's a very moral man and he sells it. I mean, I did not see Gary Oldman in that role. I saw Commissioner Gordon. That's how fucking good of an actor he is.
Yeah. Isn't the internet is a meme or a joke or something where you get home from work one day, you put down the paper and get the milk out of the fridge, and then suddenly you realize you were Gary Oldman all along playing the role.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah, that's how good of an actor he is. I mean, he was in Friends, smelling the fat. But
yeah, and he's like spitting in Joey's face because that's
spitting in Joey's.
That's how you act. That's how you act.
Oh, I mean, who is coming up in the world of acting that has that kind of talent and that kind of craftsmanship? I just don't know. Is there anyone?
It's very rare. I mean, maybe Glenn Howell could have some potential. He has some charisma. But,
there's definitely some Gary Oldmans that coming up that took Gary Oldman quite a while to be the level of Gary Oldman that was amazing. He was always talented, but there's a few Gary Oldman. Yeah, there's a few Gary Oldman potentials coming up.
I would have said Tom Hardy once.
Yeah. So would I, but I don't like actors.
He was good in the Bike Riders, even though the film could have been better. But then you get Venom as well, and I'll give credit. He's better in the third one than he was in the others, but the film was still a fucking train wreck. Lot.
Well, you cannot make caviar out of cow shit.
I know. Those films have the potential to be good as well, because I mean, Venom's a very popular character. I mean, but yeah, I think there are some studio interference. I really do.
Yeah, that's
you're probably right.
Entirely possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks for I'm glad you found it as well. I mean, the more people found this, the more I'm happy, and means I get to know some more beautiful bastards as well. So
cheers, PB. I wonder what that stands for.
Personal best.
Personal best.
Personal best.
So we've already said guest star, and Lance, have you said your favourite moment or guest star yet?
I've got. There are two moments I always remember from season one. One is the death of the Evan character. I do remember that, but Proper was like, oh no, and the other being the M60 that fires out the truck. My favorite guest appearances would be Giancarlo Esposito is in Nobody Lives Forever, really young. And the ones I've mentioned, David Patrick Kelly, Dennis Farina, Pam Grier. I absolutely love Pam Grier. I've always loved Pam Grier. Ever since I first
you
saw
can never
her.
go wrong.
Very
even in that,
feelings.
even in the fucking shit Steven Seagal movie, she is good.
That's the
Which
one
one's
film
she
of
in?
hers I
Above
probably
the Law.
haven't seen.
Is that Pam Grier in Above the Law?
Yeah,
that's
she's in it.
that's
Oh, I
probably
have
his
seen
second
Above the
least.
Law. I have seen it. I have
It's probably
seen
his
Above the
second least shit movie, though. I mean, Under Siege is his best film. Well, Executive Decision's his best film because he dies in it in the first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Under
That's a
Siege is
great
best
movie.
film, but Above the Law is not complete dog shit. Yeah, Executive David Suchet. David Suchet is a Islamic terrorist. Unbelievable.
Yeah, great movie. I really
Poirot.
like that film.
Yeah, Poirot was a terrorist.
I just watched Under Siege and Under Siege 2, funnily enough, yesterday. I had them on in the background while I'm working, the easy films to have on in the background. And I do feel that Under Siege 2 is a little bit underrated. I think it's still a decent film. It's very stupid. But as a
Bogosian's great, eh?
I just I like all the other actors in it. I really like the female sniper who's played by a Fifi, who actually later in life became a friend of mine. I'm trying to get her on. And she had a great experience working on that movie. She had a really good time. It was her first major role. And then you've got what's his name from
Is it Everett McGill?
Everett McGill is the main villain. He's great.
Great character actor. And Eric Bogosian.
Eric Bogosian. Yeah, great.
The guy played Zed in Pulp Fiction's in it as well. I mean, what's happened to him? I've not
Zed
seen him
from
in
Peter Green. Peter Green.
Peter Green.
Well, he was killed by Raylan Givens in 2011, so he's not in any more films.
You've got the guy from Better Call Saul as well, the private investigator, cool guy that always plays bad guys in the 80s. Him from Beverly Hills Cop. He's in it.
Oh God, Mike Ehrmantraut's character. What's his name? Oh God, Jonathan Banks. That's the one.
Yeah, Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks is such a fucking phenomenal actor. I always knew he was good. He always got really small roles in the 80s and early 90s. I'm so glad somebody said, let's give him a massive part, because he's just a phenomenal actor. Just goes to show what people can do when they're
that show really did give a lot of small actors some big roles. I mean, even the guy who played Manny in Scarface got a pretty decent role as one of the main Salamancas. It's,
I've just had fake Kevin Bacon like a comment of mine on Twitter. There's the real Kevin Bacon, and then when I tag the real Kevin Bacon, fake Kevin Bacon is always kind of liking those comments. And it's one of those profiles where it's like, yes, come and private chat with me. Yeah, sure, you've got time, Kevin.
Bring your bank details.
Yes, and I'll do a private stream with you. Sure. So I wouldn't pay money to do that.
There must be making some money out of some gullible people, though. There must be.
Yeah.
What was it? So who did you mention before Jonathan Banks? There was an actor you were talking about.
So we're talking about Under Siege. I mentioned
Under Siege. Eric Bogosian, Eric McGill,
Everett McGill. We mentioned Peter Green, and I mentioned a Fifi who plays the female sniper in Under Siege too. She's really great in that film. Actually, incredible presence. Hardly got any dialogue, but she does a phenomenal part. I've had about 5 friends that have worked with Seagal on different movies. Flight of Fury, my friend Mark is the main other lead in that film, right? And Mark had some stories. There's the one set on the submarine. 3 of my friends worked on that. They had some stories. Fifi she had a great experience of working with Seagal. She's the one who said, yeah, no, I had a good time. He really looked after me, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if he maybe parked his ego for a bit for Under Siege too, but I don't know. But
he's a strange man.
Yeah, that must be one of the rare times. That's definitely a rare time someone has said they liked working with Steven Seagal. I mean,
quite a decent guitarist too.
You hear stories in my industry about different people, and it's like, some people don't get on with some people, fair enough. But when you hear from multiple sources horror stories about the same person from different movies, not just one shoot, there's got to be some truth in it. And yeah, I've heard more horror stories about him than anybody else in the industry. So that's if I heard just one story about somebody, I wouldn't repeat it, because everybody has a bad day. Everybody has a bad day. I've never lost my cool and shouted at somebody on a set. But it does happen. It's an intense job. Everybody loses their shit sometime or other.
Well, I will say one thing though: it has led to more great material from Space Ice, though.
Yeah,
Space
has it
Ice.
what?
It was me that recommended Space Ice to Drinker. I saw a couple of his streams and I was like, dude, you got to check this guy out. And I was amazed when he came on Open Bar and he's got like a massive 90s mullet. It's just like
Yeah.
I know that was the first time.
They did a follow-up stream. They did a happy hour together about On Deadly Ground. You know, the one that Michael Caine's in with Stephen
Yeah, I
Seagal.
saw it. Yeah, Seagal's
Oh.
directing debut. Yeah, I saw that. It was very good.
Kane must have been doing it for the money though, because come on, that fucking Texan accent he was trying to do, he still sounded cockney.
But
It's
if you
hilarious.
look at the movie, right, when you watch it, Michael Caine and Seagal are hardly in any shots together. There's very few two shots of them both in the same shot. And I mean, to be fair, don't forget Seagal was actually directing this one, so he would have been there every day. But if you watch Seagal movies in general, there's almost no two shots of Seagal where you can see it's him and you can see the other actor. And that's because as soon as he's done his close-ups, he's off. You know, he doesn't hang around. I talk in my new book, I talk about Kurt Russell and Jason Isaacs working together on Soldier. And this is my philosophy on a film set, any set I would be working on, is Isaacs had just come off of Armageddon, and he didn't have the best experience of working on there. He said it was like Battle of the Egos, right? And when he did his scenes, no one else was there. If people weren't in the shot, they were not there. When he was on Soldier, Kurt Russell was there every single day, whether he was in a shot or not. And if like they were doing close-ups of Isaac's dialogue or whatever, Kurt Russell was always there in the shot, feeding him the line. And when he said, dude, this is great. How come you're here every day for me? I'm getting paid $75,000 a day, man. Of course I'm going to be here every day. Whatever you need. That is a professional actor right there. So
Yeah,
well, he started very young.
About Kurt Russell, I have not heard one single bad thing about Kurt
No,
Russell.
I've heard nothing but good things about Kurt and Goldie. Goldie turned up, you know, in the private jet with the dogs and like, you know, bought everybody gifts and shit. Like just the nicest people. Them two and Kevin and Kyra Sedgwick are two of the couples that have survived the Hollywood meat grinder. And, you know, my marriage didn't survive the industry, and the industry played a massive part in destroying it. It was not the only thing, but it was a massive factor. And you know, not many marriages survive that industry. You've got to be, you know, you've really got to love and look out for each other, and I think they have done. So credit to them. I'd love to work with either of those guys. Kurt
I'd love to see you interview him one day. I would. I mean, I think
I'd love
if you heard
to.
about your channel, he would jump on. He would. He
Well,
seems that much of a fucking cool guy to do it.
Kevin Bacon and Kurt Russell both get big mentions in my book, and you know, so maybe it'll end up in their hands.
I heard,
people
maybe because you know more trivia than anyone that I can think of, lads. I heard a rumor that Kurt Russell was almost the de facto director of Tombstone, because George Cosmatos wasn't really up to the task, didn't really have control of the set, and that Kurt Russell had to really step in and make it work.
So the truth behind that's partly true. He basically, the film got massively behind schedule. By the time they were shooting Tombstone, George had a massive drinking problem. And he would, you know, he would often arrive on set late. Sometimes he would be drunk. By the way, he was also one of the most hated directors in the industry. People did not like him. Okay, people did not like to work with him. And I went to see an industry talk and I don't like to speak ill of the dead because he's not around now. But I went to see an industry talk that the second unit director of Leviathan gave. At the first screening of Leviathan in the UK, which for anyone who doesn't know, it's one of the three kind of monsters beneath the sea movies that came out at the same time as The Abyss. You had The Abyss, Leviathan, and Deep Star 6.
Deep Star 6, I remember that.
Well, one of the leads of Deep Star 6 was interviewed on my channel a couple of weeks ago, Cindy Pickett. I interviewed Cindy Pickett. You want to watch that interview, man?
Yeah,
I shall. I have not yet. She was she at Ferris Bueller's Day Off as well. She was his mum.
Ferris Bueller's mum. We talked about that at length, and that movie is in my book, so that's in there. But
I'm still reeling from your Pat Mills interview, to be honest.
That was great interview. Mike Valentine
Pat Mills
was the second unit director on Leviathan, and he didn't even get credited as the second unit director. He got credited as underwater unit director, and that was not his agreed credit. And just like he said, he was the worst director he'd ever worked with. His every other word out of his mouth was, "You're ruining my movie," and he just blamed every mistake on everybody else. None of it was his fault, you know. So not a man who commanded respect on his set. So I'm sure that there's a lot of truth in probably, you know, Kurt Russell probably just stepping in and taking the reins and rallying people and saying, let's get on with this bloody thing. We're doing this shot now. Yeah. You know, it would have been like that, I would imagine. So, and he probably did cover for days when he wasn't there. I don't know, you know, unless you were on the set, you don't know, do you?
Yeah.
So
fair play.
Because this is all rumor. But I have heard that from multiple sources, you know, and there are some directors that, like, actors love them. They want to work with them, you know, and you see these are the directors that command those kind of casts. And, you know, Michael Mann is a director that, to steer this back on topic, because we went down a right rabbit hole there. Michael Mann is a director that actors love, and if you look at the caliber of all the actors that have been on Miami Vice, and yes, we can look back and say it you know, it is a show that's a big slice of 80s cheese in a way, but it also was a groundbreaking show that took a lot of risks that other shows hadn't done up until that point. They were killing off characters, they were killing off good guys left and right in this show, and the moral dichotomy of the last season as well is quite hard hitting. So this is what Toxic said earlier about giving other shows the chance to run with stuff. This definitely did break a lot of ground. I think that's what's really good about it. You know, led the way for other stuff, and it also stylized. It totally changed the look of police procedural television. Up until this, Starsky and Hutch and Y50 had cool shots and stuff, sure, but this really embraced that music 80s MTV era, like Toxic mentioned before, and it took it further. It made it a stylized art form of its own. And then if you look at the opening credits of a show like NYPD Blue, right, and compare them to the opening credits of Miami Vice, you can see it's all there. They've taken it, and they've taken it further, and they've made it grittier, but it's exactly the same look and technique. And that's what's great about this show, to take you to the wrap up, Northern. Groundbreaking, leading the way, cutting edge for its day. It has aged. That's its downside, because it is very 80s. It's very entrenched in that decade, but that's fine. That's okay. It's kind of nice because it's also a slice of history, you know.
And it obviously knew the 80s was this big thing happening, so it took any advantage it could. I mean, okay, we're now in the 80s. Let's try and market anything that could be part of this time capsule in a way. This time period, really.
No, time capsule is the right way to say it. Actually, I think you're right. The first time there. Miami Vice. It is a time capsule of styles, of music, of attitudes, of social issues, right? That America dealt with in that time. I think you actually hit the nail on the head the first time there, mate. Well said.
Yeah, and I don't think there's much we can say about it. We've already said about how gritty it is, how it took chances. It didn't give two fucks about whether it could be dark or a little bit depressing. It kind of showed that being a police officer, trying to be the good guy, doesn't always pay off, and the bad guys sometimes do win. And I love how it took those chances as well. But it still had a personality as well. I mean, it had the pastel suits. You had Johnson and Phillips just playing these really two charming guys. You had Sandra Santiago and Olivia Brown as Gina and Trudy as these very capable female sort of sidekicks who would occasionally get their own little time to shine in leading some episodes and get some decent storylines as well. And
it was diverse.
Diverse.
It reflected the diversity of
diverse without being forced. It was natural.
No,
it was
organic diversity. Their boss was a Latino in Florida. Made total sense.
Yeah, I think Sandra Santiago's kind of Latino, is she? It sounds very. The last name does sound very like.
I always thought she was Italian, but
so maybe, yeah.
No, I can. I mean, I've researched her background. I've followed her career since she was in Beat Street, guys. That's before this.
God, my wife loves that movie. In 1982, Beat Street.
Yeah, it was came out. I think it was shot in 83. I think it dropped in 84. Certainly, it dropped in the UK. And
my wife loves that film.
She's half Cuban, half Puerto Rican. So, I mean, she, born in the States, raised in the Bronx of all places. So she's a proper, New York, come out of a working class family, and she also eventually went to the University of Miami, and that's where she became interested in acting. And I think one of her first roles was in a production of West Side Story, playing Maria. So, but her big screen.
How do you solve a problem like?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, and she can sing as well, because we've seen her in what episode? I think it was the last episode of season 3, where she plays a mother as in the 60s, and then before going forward and singing. She's actually a very talented woman. She has some runs on it.
Yeah, extremely talented. Yeah, no, I mean, I've always really rated her. I remember one of the reasons I like to watch Miami Vice was because she was in it. She's also done some great guest roles in like Law and Order and a lot of those kind of shows. She was in something called Guiding Light for a while. Not my favorite show, but yeah, no, and I think she's done a lot of theatre. I'd love to see her on stage, but unfortunately not very likely living over here. So.
Yeah, it's also kind of a shame that Don Johnson didn't have much of a movie career after, because I think they were trying to get him in, but I don't think he ever quite topped being a TV star, because he would later star in Nash Bridges as well, which was a very popular show in the 90s, and even Philip Michael Thomas makes an appearance as well, and I think a lot of fans were very happy when they saw that happen. I need to check that out, to be honest.
Right. Well, gentlemen,
turn down Die Hard.
Yes, I think
no, you shouldn't. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute treat being able to talk with you about this show. Thank you so much, Northern English Bastard, for having me on. Because you mentioned wives, and I have to go and get mine now. My wife's been on a business trip in Germany, and I have to go pick her up from the airport. So it's been wonderful talking to you two, and just the fount of trivia and knowledge from Lance is always great. I hope one day Northern English Bastard will see you on the Brown Alliance, because I think you'd fit in there really well. I hope you'll turn up on one of them streams one day.
Get me on there. Even if you can't, mate, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I'm still enjoying what I'm doing here anyway, and it's been good, man. And yeah, it is getting close to midnight now, so I probably should wrap up.
Right.
We've said all we've had to say about the first series, and we'll probably have a lot more to say when I do the second series, and maybe the other series after. I will still do season 4 because they still have some gems despite their flaws. So thanks for joining me, Lance. And RT, before you go, do you want to promote anything?
No, really. I mean, I'm not a YouTuber like you guys. I just have my own silly little channel where I practice because I learned Welsh late in life, so I practice my Welsh by making short, ridiculous videos. That's my contribution to keeping our language going. Yeah, I don't really do anything serious on YouTube, but please do like, share, and subscribe to Northern English Bastard and the Outcast Creative, and to the Lord of Toxicity, because they all do fun stuff, and yeah, they've all got great things to share.
Yeah, the names are in the description anyway, so if you do want to subscribe to these beautiful bastards, do let me know. And yeah, Lance, I think you've got a book that you've not mentioned yet. But
I have a
yes,
book
it
coming
is.
out.
Yes.
Listen, this book is going to be available to buy this time tomorrow. It'll be launching by tomorrow evening. I'm doing the official American launch on Diabolical Souls channel at some ungodly hour in the morning. And it's also basically we're doing the quiz tomorrow at 8 o'clock, the YouTubers quiz. All of the quiz is all going to be from topics that are covered in the book. This book is basically a journal of my life at the cinema. I cover about 126 movies in all. That's why it says 101 plus, because I wasn't sure at the time how many there were going to be. From 1974 right through till 2024. Some of these entries are leaning more to me discussing the film and how it impacted me at the time. Some of the entries don't discuss the film at all, like, for example, Revenge of the Sith. But I do have a specific memory attached to that movie, and I talk about that. So you can expect to read about things like the first film I ever saw with my gran, the first film I ever went to see with my parents, the last film I saw with my dad before he passed away, the first film I went to see with my first girlfriend, and so on and so on. So it's all about specific memories attached to those movies, and then also what those movies meant to me at the time and what they mean to me now. And some of the movies have their own stories, like how I would meet people in those films later, or that film would impact my own career and lead to a certain career choice within the industry for me. So yeah, it's been a bit of an epic ride. It's a big book. It's about 375 pages. And like I said, there's 126 entries over 11 chapters. And each chapter covers a period of about 5 to 6 years. So there you go.
Yeah, sort of bit salesman. And once I get paid, I might try and
all
see if I
over
can
my
buy
social, available from Amazon in 48 hours. It will be on Amazon, 48 hours. So yeah. There you go.
Yeah, so do check it out.
Thanks, man.
Check it out. Okay, yeah, and thanks for joining me, Lance and Artie. And I think next up will be my series of Christmas videos, starting with Bad Santa, and I will be giving a brief mention of Bad Santa 2. And that's it for now. So thanks for joining us, Atom Gray, PB. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream, even though I probably did mess up a few times. Wellboard Joe, Atom Gray, Mr. E, Nix, who's always welcome, and Tony K, always welcome. Who else? Let's see if I've not missed anyone there. Barbara Lawrence, Jamalama, thanks for joining me. And anyone else? Come on. Angry Monkey, yes. Angry Minky, sorry. Yeah, thanks for joining us. You've all been beautiful. You've been keeping the chats going, keeping the conversation flowing. And whether you beautiful bastards are Northern English or not, thanks for joining us. And if you wish to further support this channel, then links will be in the description below. And please remember to
subscribe. Hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe and ring the bell in order to be notified. But right now, that's me done. And I'm off to the pub if there's one open at this time. Thank you.
Right. Take care. Thanks, Chad.